Welcome, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls. Secure your tinfoil hats, climb aboard the mothership, and buckle down tight as you hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in Calejo, Colorado. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight and hanging out with me. It's an honor to have you. So if you're listening live tonight, you would be listening to us on KPNL Radio, which you can find on KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com. You may also watch us on Facebook, youtube.com, and Twitch. If you want to listen in your free time, whether you're working it or working out, you can listen to me on Spreaker.com or basically wherever you tune in to your podcasts and such. Alright, so yeah, tonight it's story time with me, TessaTNT. I would be doing a video for YouTube, but the free package that we have on StreamYard is full. You only get 20 hours a week. I got 21 point whatever, so lucky that. But yeah, so we're just on Spreaker tonight, which is awesome. I love my Spreaker peeps. Before we get into the book, I would like to do the quote for the hour. And the quote for the hour is, "Everything comes to those who wait, if they work while they wait." That's a good one. Alright, so for story time, we've been reading Ryan Calejo's Charlie Hernandes and the League of Shadows. It's been pretty good. I think we're basically 3/4 of the way through it, or 2/3. I'm not quite sure. We might make it through tonight. I'm thinking maybe next weekend. I can't believe I'm gonna die like this, I thought. Eaten alive on some sidewalk in North Miami Beach by a creature that shouldn't even exist. "Violet, run!" I shouted. "Vet, get out of the walkie-talkie." The Nahual had dropped on the sidewalk suddenly, crackled to life. There was a sharp, high-pitched squeal, followed by a furious female voice. "What are you doing, Perro? Calejo!" Voice raged. "You're supposed to let the children into the monastery, not into the belly. Have you once again forgotten what side you fight for?" The Nahual abruptly released my leg, backing fearfully away from the walkie-talkie. It covered its face with one of its great black paws and whined deep in its throat, as if trying to apologize to whoever was on the other end. But the lady was having none of it. "Aliet, get away from the child," she roared, and suddenly the ferocious beast, once ferocious anyway, tucked its long fuzzy tail between its legs in terror and bounded off into the night, vanishing from sight. For a moment I was too stunned to blink, much less get up and run, but I definitely wasn't about to just lie there and wait for that thing to change its mind about making me dinner. Scrambling to my feet, I hustled back over to the fence, scuttled through the opening, then nearly got leveled as Violet slammed into me, wrapping me up in a huge hug. "Oh my God!" she shouted, crushing me with that trademark cheerleader strength. "You're okay?" "Barely," I said sheepishly, and it was right about then that I realized I'd lost my mitt at some point in the scramble. I looked around for it, but didn't see Minnie anywhere. The Nahual must have eaten her, gobbled her up like a half-price doggy treat at PetSmart. Better her than me, I guess. Violet was shaking her head. "But what happened? Who was that on the walkie-talkie?" No idea, but I don't think we want to be here when Lassie's man-eating cousin comes back. I grabbed her hand. Come on. Chapter 26. The ancient wooden doors of the monastery swung open at our approach, though it didn't look like anyone had opened them, and a flood of white light spilled out, swallowing us up. In its dazzling brightness, instinctively, I raised my arm to shield my face, but the light began to fade almost as suddenly as it had appeared. Beside me, I heard Violet say, "Interesting." Sorry about that, guys. I didn't mute my phone. Very, I agreed, blinking sunspots out of my vision. Then I looked around and gasped. Not because the room was so incredibly massive, or because the walls were seamless slabs of white marble, or even because the ceiling was made entirely of glass. A gigantic, translucent bubble through which I could see a blue-black canopy of stars, twinkling almost close enough to touch. No, it was the people, or should I say, the beings, that made my breath catch, that got my heart thumping crazily against my ribs. The tallest of the three was leaning against a great oak table in the middle of the room. A Basawan, no doubt about it. The dude was simply ginormous, easily over 12 feet tall, with long, whitish yellow fur and a hard, leathery face that looked almost human from certain angles. Not many, but definitely a few. An assortment of crude tools hung in its scraggly mane, a small rusty pick, the head of the hammer, a few smooth stones. I even thought I saw a makeshift screwdriver dangling deep inside the matted strands of its bushy blonde beard. I remembered hearing how Basawans were extremely industrious creatures, how they learned to build tools, cultivate crops, and how they taught those skills to early settlers. Now, judging from the smart brown eyes that stared back at me from within the folds of its thickly fleshed face, I had no doubt this creature was just as intelligent as the legends made it out to be, if not more. On the opposite end of the table, arms crossed in a watchful pose, stood the undisputed king of Salvadoran folklore, El Justo Juez, or the Just Judge. Dressed in dark, flowing robes and high black leather boots, he looked like a mix between a Supreme Court justice and Batman. His shoulders were broad, his long, lean body fiercely upright, seemingly carved out of the hardest, driest stone. To top it all off, where his head should have been, was a column of wispy gray smoke, which flickered every now and then with the sharp crackle of an ember. The fact that I couldn't tell which way he was looking, or if he was even looking in the first place, somehow made him all the more terrifying. Over to our left, there was a massive fireplace where purple flames licked and popped. Sprawled out before it was a large and unbelievably beautiful dog, but not just any dog. El Calejo, a being said to have taken the form of a canine after God created it to protect man. Its glowing blue eyes smoldered like hot coals, and its fur, the color of fleshy fallen snow, glistened as though it had been painted with sunlight. As I stood there gawking at the three legendary figures, I was pretty sure my tongue was dangling somewhere down around my ankles. Someone spoke up from behind the cluster of plants in the corner. At first I saw no one, then my eyes adjusted, and I realized there wasn't anyone behind the plants. The plants were someone. A lady, curvy and barefoot, with huge anime eyes and hands so big they looked like they belonged on an NBA power forward. Her hair was a tangled mess of vines and leaves, and her skin was dark green, covered with lily pads and other small blooming flowers. She wore no clothes, only strips of fuzzy gray moss, which grew on her like lichen on a log. Madre Moon? I breathed. Mother Mountain? I can't believe you actually exist. And yet she does, said a voice. I looked around and saw someone else, a woman in a fancy tiered gown, standing at the window on the far side of the room. She was tall and slender, her long pale arms glittering with an assortment of bracelets and jeweled armbands. A golden crown studded with square-cut emeralds sat atop layers of thick auburn hair, which coiled at the nape of her neck. When she turned to face us, I saw she had eyes so bright and green, there was no way they could possibly be human. In fact, I knew exactly what she was, a bruja. My abuela had described many of them. I must beg your pardon for such a terrifying greeting, she said, and this time I recognized her voice, which had a distinct air of royalty to it. Almost immediately, she was the lady from the walkie-talkie, the one who had saved me. Our night watchman happens to be a Nahul of the Forgotten Foothills, and they are without a doubt some of the most unruly creatures walking our planet. I didn't think unruly was the right word, more like psychopathic or savage or maybe even bloodthirsty, but I wasn't going to argue. However, their loyalty is without question, she continued casually, and thus they are indispensable. Do try to forgive him, and you have my word that it will never happen again. Then her lips split into a mesmerizing smile as her brilliant emerald eyes locked onto mine. In any event, Charlie, Violet, it is my pleasure to finally meet you face to face. My name is Joanna. I am the Witch Queen of Toledo, and we are the League of Shadows. Chapter 27. At first all I could think was, we found them, we found them, we found them, we found them, and it felt amazing, like incredible, but then I realized something was weird. Wait, how the heck do you know our names? I started to say, and that's when something even weirder happened. What felt like a tidal wave of information slammed into me with enough force to knock me back a step. Suddenly, I knew the answer to my question, but not only that, I knew the answer to every question I could possibly come up with. I knew that this place wasn't just a monastery, it was also what was known as a provincia, an ancient warded structure of which there were dozens spread throughout the Americas and the Iberian Peninsula. I knew that these provincias served as regional strongholds for the League and their allies. I knew that the first had been built more than 1,200 years ago during the time of the Spanish kingdom of Asturias, and that the one we were currently standing in had had its bricks blessed by Pope Alexander III, and a Cistercian monk in AD 1174. Over the last 900 years, it had survived 2 different all-out attacks from a horde of Ulkimpan ogres and a raging wildfire started by some naughty duendes. However, I also knew that all the mythological beings standing before me referred to themselves as sombras, or shadows. I felt there were good sombros and bad sombros. I knew La Liga was a coalition of good sombras and that they had been engaged in a millennia-long stronghold and struggle against La Mano Peluda, or the Hairy Hand, a cabal of evil sombras intent on expanding their dominion from the land of the dead into the land of the living. I knew that the land of the living, or our side of things, was teeming with all sorts of supernatural faces, races, and beings, everything from clans of tiny spear-wielding pixies, called Zips, or to tribes of Basque giants, known as Gentilak. I knew that over the years, most of these races had entirely segregated themselves from one another because all they'd ever end up doing was warring over land or resources or power, and that it was La Liga's function to bring as many of them together as possible in order to form a unified front against La Mano Peluda. I also knew that the big hairy Basajuan dude had been following Violet and me for a couple of days now. Images of us biking around Miami, trekking through the Everglades, even facing off against Sihunaba, flitted through my mind like an old-fashioned film reel on fast forward. There I was, tripping over the mangroves, my hair matted to my forehead, sweat pouring down my face. And there was Violet, slinging a rock at the horse-faced demon. I knew that it was Queen Joanna who had ordered the Baswan to follow us, and that she'd been preparing to contact me before she found out we were on our way over. An instant later, or at least what felt like an instant later, in reality I had no clue how much time had passed, a flash of bright light streaked across my vision, and I came back to myself with a gasp, looking around dazedly. What just happened? I whispered. El Calejo touched your mind, the witch queen of Toledo said casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Now you know all that you need to. Again, I apologize, but there isn't much time for questions. El Calejo as an ancient being? El Justo was explained. His voice crackled like an earth. He existed long before modern languages were invented. He is unbound by them. He can speak directly to a person's soul. The fate of this world hangs by a thread, a quingo. Even the slightest misstep on our part could spell the end of mankind. Words once again bounced around inside my brain as if I had thought them up myself, but this time I knew who it was. El Calejo continued. A darkness has begun to slither out of the old and forgotten places of the earth, an ancient evil whose thirst for dominion and domination cannot be quenched. Hey, see, let's just tell the children everything, Madre Monte snapped. A flurry of purple leaves tumbled out of her hair. The vines looping around her arms seemed to twist tighter, turning from bright green to deep dark brown. We've already discussed this, Señorita Monte, the Witch Queen said firmly. The child represents our best chance to win this war. See, the child does, she agreed in an exasperated tone, but that is not the child. If you have your doubts, speak them now, said El Justo Luis. No espera? My doubts, bueno, para empezar. How old is he? 8, 9? I'm 12, I said. And Madre Monte raised one mossy eyebrow in mock surprise. Oh, 12, is that so? Well, you are just all grown up, aren't you? Then to the others, which would still make him the youngest cambiador in history. Youth is not a disqualifier, Joanna said, nor is it a guarantee of ability, Madre Monte shot back. And let us not forget the prophecy of the meaning of the two horns. They represent a double portion of power, no? Meaning that the fifth morphling will be the most powerful yet, and we all know that 2 manifestations for a morphling with absolutely no training is already unheard of. Now consider this child. What about him? Asked El Calejo. Aye, just look at that thing in his arm. For the love of the mountains, mira. Her eyes a swirling storm of yellows and browns. Zero in on my claw. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from where I am rooted, that would certainly count as a 3rd manifestation. Such ability is beyond even what is foretold in the prophecy, and let us not forget that the prophecy makes no intention or mention of a claw in the first place. That child is not a morphling. This has been brutally clear from the moment we began watching him. What more evidence do any of you need? This is not photosynthesis, Miss Compadre. Or me, Compadre. I do not believe it is that simple this time, the Queen said in a low, thoughtful voice. I sense something in him. Algo different? That is because your hope has blinded you. It has caused you to lose sight of the truly important tasks, such as using what influence we have left to rally our allies, and instead go searching the globe for child heroes. That is not fair, El Calejo said, fixing her with his glowing gaze. Como no? It is merely the truth. The Libosomen clans have begun infighting again. The Mucus of Cajamarca have stopped harming anyone but their own kin, which, need I remind you, violates the Treaty of 1496, a treaty ratified in the halls of Castile by Joanna's own ancestors. And the Nakaom Comalingua, those wretched tongue-eating birds, have begun feeding on cattle and livestock in full view of villagers, which effectively violates every other treaty that's ever been agreed upon. The Sombras are leaderless. They are all doing what is right in their own eyes. We must show strength, not desperation. As if to emphasize her point, a faint shudder shook the room. No one except Violet and me, that is, seemed to notice. Can you not feel the darkness creeping into this world? Madre Ramon whispered, touching a hand lightly to Joanna's arm. Can you not feel its hungry jaws tightening around our throats? The influence of La Liga is already diminishing. Our alliances are collapsing all around us. Tell me that you do not hear the whispers of war on the winter winds. La Bruja's beautiful green eyes shifted first to me, then back to Senorita Monte. Indeed I do, for its awful song haunts me both day and night. She looked at the round of the others. Wes, your best judgment, is my course righteous, or does my heart deceive me? There was a brief moment of silence during which the column of wispy smoke above his shoulders wavered. When he finally spoke, his voice was like the sizzling of hot coals. I do not pass judgment on issues of the heart, Mirina. I only judge between right and wrong. Muy bien, Joanna said. Then this matter shall be resolved tonight. I will take the boy to see the oracle. Juez stepped forward. Perhaps that may not be the wisest course. We have not received any communications from a provincia in La Roja in more than 3 days. I suspect treachery within our ranks. There have also been sightings of an Ucumpan hunting back in the region. It is far too dangerous. At the Queen's shocked look, Juez asked, What's wrong, Mirina? She did not know of the fall of Toledo, El Calejo answered. Joanna squeezed her eyes shut for a brief moment. Her cheeks had suddenly turned deathly pale. Ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente, she whispered after several seconds. She sounded completely heartbroken, and I was pretty sure she was fighting back tears. Violet nudged me. What does that mean? Eyes that do not see, heart that does not feel, I said into her ear. It was almost a whole minute before the Queen spoke again, and when she did, her voice was little more than a rasp. It is the hour of judgment is upon us. I pray our courage does not fail us. And I pray our good sense does not either, Madre Ramon said. With that, she started toward the back of the monastery, trailing a tangled mass of vines and purple weeds. I finally got why they called her Mother Mountain, because that's exactly what she looked like, a forest-covered mountain on 2 lakes. El Justos Juez spun in her direction. Senorita Mon, ¿y dónde vas? My forests need me, she said as she disappeared through a golden door below the wall of the windows. I don't have time for babysitting. El Calejo turned the fuzzy white dome of his head toward Juez and must have communicated something, because they both abruptly started toward the same door. They're leaving? Violet asked Joanna. They have many matters to attend to, the Queen replied calmly. Suddenly, about 7 or 8 itty-bitty little guys in Spanish breeches, pointy hats, and what looked like clogs made of rocks came rumbling out of the hallway to our left. They had bloated purple eyes the size of plums and skin so pale you could almost see through it to the cords of wiry muscles beneath. Between them they were hefting a large wooden chest loaded with all sorts of ancient-looking weapons. Swords, battle axes, maces, and leather slings. They made it about halfway across the room before one of them saw Violet shriek like a terrified billy goat, then tripped over his own 2 feet, taking a few of his buddies down with him. The heavy chest clattered loudly to the marble floor, and when Joanna turned to glare at them, they all immediately dropped to one knee, bowing their little heads in reverence. The layers of dark hair snaked out from under their hats, hung over their faces like silky curtains. "Pardon, mi reina," one of them cried. "Si, pardon," shouted another. "Pardon, pardon," the rest of them began to chant. Then they quickly surrounded the chest, picked it back up with a collective grunt, and disappeared down another long hallway, chattering noisily among themselves like a flock of excited geese. Joanna sighed. "Duenda can be a little skittish around humans." She glanced down at my claw, her expression still tight. "Charlie, let me take a closer look at that." Sure." I held up my big red lobster claw, feeling sort of embarrassed, and after a moment's study she began to wrap it in a thin white cloth. To me it looked like the stuff doctors use to make casts, that she seemed to have materialized out of thin air. As she worked, I was struck by how familiar she looked. I'd seen this lady before, there was no doubt in my mind, and maybe even more than once. The only question was where. When she finished, I flexed my claw, testing it. The material fit pretty snugly, but still let me work the pinchers. It looked just like a regular old cast. "Cool," I said. "Si, cool." La Brea's lips smiled, but her eyes still held a look of concern. "This way you won't attract any unwanted attention." Just then, the huge hairy hominid to her left let out a deafening roar. A sudden explosion of sound washed over me like a meatball-scented tsunami, and I almost colored my undies. "Cheese," I said. "What's up with him?" "He would like both of you to know that he'll be joining us tonight," answered Joanna. "Really? All that grr just to say I'm coming with?" "Juan is a very passionate individual." "Huh. Boss of Juan named Juan." I kind of liked it. "He once saved an entire Spanish military infantry unit," Joanna continued. "Juan single-handedly fended off more than 200 vampire dogs, with only the jawbone of a dead mule. He then gave one of his more impassioned speeches at the foothills of the Pyrenees, rallying the soldiers to help him drive the rest of the marauding dips out of the country." Violet was shaking her head. "Wait, so he can actually speak?" Joanne made an amused face. "Como no? To say Basawans are extremely intelligent would be like saying the sun is hot. You simply have to get used to their thick Calejo accents." "Hold up," I said. "You're telling me that Bigfoot's big brother is coming with us and you are worried about my claw attracting attention?" "Basawans are quite skilled at remaining inconspicuous," the Queen said. "None more so than those of the tribes of Gibraltar, from whence Juan hails. How did you think they've gone so long without being properly photographed?" She had a point there. Gotcha. Another rumble, this one much stronger, shook the room. The fancy long-stemmed candle set along the walls and silver holders flickered. In another room something fell to the ground and shattered. Violet's wide eyes found the Queen's. "What's going on? Why does this keep happening?" "It's the chasm," she replied. "We believe it may be disintegrating." "The chasm?" "The invisible wall that separates the land of the living from that of the dead. Many believe that Romano Peluda has found a way to erode it, that they've been working at it for eons. We are now beginning to feel its effects in this world." "What happens if the chasm is destroyed?" I asked hesitantly, not sure I really wanted to hear the answer. The pasillos between the two worlds would become unnecessary. Our enemy could unleash a large-scale invasion anywhere on the planet. Donde quieren? Yep, didn't want to hear that. I thought about all the people who could be hurt, or worse, if an invasion of things like La Sihuanaba came pouring out from another dimension, and felt my chest go numb as the narwhal had tongue strangled. So how are you going to stop that from happening? Violet asked. You can't, Joanna replied matter-of-factly. You can't? What do you mean, you can't? I mean, it is impossible. If the chasm is truly disintegrated, there is no power on Earth that can repair it. Our only concern now must be in stopping La Mano Peluda. I shook my head. And how are you going to do that? Not I, mi niño, but you. See, La Mano Peluda's army grows because of fear, the fear that they will soon rule both worlds, and that all who oppose them will be forced to pay with their very souls. If you are indeed the Morphling, then you are living proof that the ancient scriptures are true, that there truly is one who can stand against them. The light of your coming will slow their recruiting and cause all of those who have joined their number out of fears to fall away. It will also cause many of their allies who have cowered in fear to once again take up arms. Sadly, mi niño, the fate of the living has been reduced to a mathematical proposition. If we can reduce the number of La Mano Peluda's forces, we may yet stand the slimmest of chances. If we cannot, or they manage to convert La Sociedad de la Caracas, which would give them control over virtually every pasillo between the worlds, control that they do not yet possess, or, if the chasm does indeed collapse, then their armies will sweep over the face of this world like a dark, unquenchable fire. Violet said, So your plan is basically to find the Morphling, then do everything in our power to keep him or her alive. I'm no math whiz or anything, I said, but that mathematical proposition thingy you just laid out, it doesn't really sound like it's in our favor. That's because it is not, the Witch Queen replied simply. I rubbed the center of my forehead. My brain had started to spin. There was so much to process, so many questions, so much pressure. Do you really think I could be the Morphling? I asked finally. Like, for real? La Bruja's expression did not change. That is what I intend to find out. So where's the Oracle? Violet asked. Is she nearby? Actually, it's a he, and he's quite a ways from here, but fortunately there's Brinko. I frowned, confused. Jump? What is that? A form of metaphysical travel. Hopefully neither of you has inner ear issues. Joanna turned to the huge desk in the middle of the room, brought a small silver dish from one of the drawers, and held it out to us. On it, fat, slimy maggots wriggled and writhed. Take, eat. Eat? She had to be messing with us. What the heck are those things? I blurted out, feeling my stomach churn. Tequila worms, but don't worry. They haven't been soaked in alcohol. Están bien frescas. Actually, their alcohol content and freshness was the least of my worries. You don't really expect us to put those things in our mouths, do you? I mean, they're alive. The Witch Queen of Toledo wagged a long jeweled finger at me. Her many rings glittered brightly in the candlelight. Not just put them in your mouth, but eat them, and eat them quickly. She dropped one into each of our palms. The nasty little things were cold as ice cubes and coated with a slimy film of mucus. Just the thought of chewing one up made me want to blow chunks. As I mentioned earlier, we haven't much time. Violet didn't hesitate. She tossed the ugly little sucker back like it was a gummy bear. The girl obviously didn't have a gag reflex, like none. That or she might have been related to Andrew Zimmern. Go ahead, Charlie, she said, in between crunchy and gag-inducing chews. They're actually not bad. A little sweet, but not bad. I can't believe I'm doing this, I thought, forcing my mouth to open. Then, before I could think better of it, I pinched my nose, tossed the slimy, squirming, disgustingly alive invertebrate down the old hatch, and, of course, instantly regretted it. The flavor was like old shoe leather or spoiled nuts, and the texture was somehow even worse. It was basically like chewing wet sand. I glared at Violet. Not bad, huh? She giggled. I thought you liked sweet. It isn't sweet, I grumbled, which made her giggle even more. You're still going to pay for this. Bueno, now gather round, children, Joanna said, motioning us closer, and close your eyes so you don't get nauseous. Yeah, a little late for that. Then the Witch Queen of Toledo spoke a single word. Vamonos! And the ground seemed to slip out of sight from beneath us. Chapter 28. Get a drink of water real quick. I'm not sure what I expected Brinko to be like, but it was probably the weirdest thing I'd ever experienced in my entire life, and that was saying something. It felt as though we were flying and at the same time falling somehow, being stretched and simultaneously compacted, pulled apart and squeezed. A gust of icy wind, I'm talking Arctic cold, blew across my face, swirling my hair into a spiky mess as the world around us, or what I sensed as the world around us, began to wobble and bounce like a drunken top. My ears popped with a sudden change in pressure. My insides squirmed. I could feel that nasty little tequila worm trying to crawl its way back up my throat, and I had to swallow hard just to keep it down. Dark shapes and bursts of flickering green light began to whip across my cold eyelids, and then everything seemed to blur into a single dizzying stream of motion, and it felt like we were picking up even more speed, though I still couldn't tell if we were traveling up or down, much less forward or backward. Instinctively, I wrapped my arms around Violet as she wrapped hers around me, and then, just when I was about to yell at Joanna to make it stop, for the love of God, Parayella, everything went still, completely, absolutely, perfectly still. When I opened my eyes again, we were standing in the middle of a large cobblestone square surrounded by low red-roofed buildings. Narrow streets ran off in all directions. To our left was a manicured garden. To our right, maybe 50 yards away, a massive cathedral rose out of the gray stones. With its old-school Baroque facade and pointy steeples, it looked like something straight out of the Middle Ages. Where are we? I asked, rubbing my eyes. Something about it all was vaguely familiar. Narrow streets, the gray cobblestones, the old-world architecture, but for several seconds I couldn't put it together. My head was still spinning a little. Then it clicked. We're in the Santiago de Compostela Cathedral Square, I said, turning to gape at the Queen. We're in Spain? In Galicia? La Tierra de Niegas? The land of witches? Honestly, I expected her to have some pretty cool powers, being a witch queen and all, but teleporting us across 4,000 miles of open ocean in the blink of an eye, now that was seriously impressive. Muy bien, Queen Joanna said, and grinned at me. She sounded impressed. You're certainly a very cultured boy. As I looked around, my mouth dropped open in amazement. So many of my abuela's stories had taken place right here, right in these very streets. Huge battles between warring Baswan tribes, a bloody showdown between a pack of dips and a Libisoman, that's a werewolf, who had become a priest, even an epic family throwdown between two insanely powerful sister witches that almost ended the world as we know it. According to an old legend, the Santiago de Compostela Cathedral had been built as a sort of outpost in the 11th century, a forward operating base to support Spanish troops as they battled the clans of one-eyed giants called Tartolos that were threatening to overrun Spain. Over the years, I must have pictured myself running around this place like a zillion times, fighting monsters, brujas, but to actually be here, smack dab in the middle of all this history and myth, that was truly mind-blowing. Perhaps one day I'll give you both a tour, Joanna said, but today we must move quickly. El Tucano, Ua, rules these skies, plus my sister can be anywhere. I frowned at her. Your sister? The black sheep of the family, you could say. In any event, it is not safe here. As if to make her point, darkness began to spread over the square like a heavy blanket. The wind suddenly picked up, and the temperature dropped almost 10 degrees in the span of a few seconds. A heartbeat later, dozens of winged creatures appeared out of nowhere, hovering over the rooftops. They were small, maybe 3 feet tall, with bony arms and even bonier legs. They wore simple tunics made of dried leaves, animal skins, and scraps of tattered cloth. Their eyes were too big for their faces, their heads were too big for their bodies. They sort of looked like shriveled old men, only I knew that what they really were and just how dangerous they could be. Acalicas, the queen whispered, her expression darkening, and of the haunted valley, no less. I've never heard of that kind, I admitted. That's because few have ever seen one, and even fewer have lived to tell the tale. Well, that was nice to know. Charlie, what are those things? Violet asked, spinning to look at me. Weather fairies, I explained. Mean little suckers, too. Beside me, Juan began to growl low in his throat. He pinned his large, humanish ears back against the sides of his massive skull and bared his teeth in a terrifying snarl. Dude was obviously getting ready to rumble. Boy, hey, there's no reason to get all worked up, said a deep, melodic voice. Then a figure in a ridiculously oversized hat melted out of the shadows near the steps of the cathedral, and the breath caught in my throat. It was El Sombrero. His silver guitarra glinted in a strip of pale moonlight, and the black metal spurs on his black leather boots clinked with his every step. That's the guy I saw at my house, I whispered to Violet. That's him. I just want to have a little chat with El Niño, said the legendary sombrero-wearing goblin, casually strumming his guitarra. Let's not make a big deal about it, okay? His dark eyes peered out at me from beneath the impossibly broad brim of his black hat. Oye, muchacho, why don't you start walking, eh? I don't go all day, you know. Sorry, senor, the queen replied, stepping in front of me. But El Niño is busy at the moment, perhaps some other time. Oh, no, I don't think so, lady. Me and the kid going to talk. And right now. His nimble fingers danced across the strings of his guitar, and the sound they produced was utterly mesmerizing. A slow melody filled with sadness and longing. I had time to think, dang, this guy can play, and then the army of Acalicas rose higher into the air, as if responding to the music, their leather wings blurring in the growing darkness as they began to chitter among themselves. Suddenly the wind began to blow harder. Thunder rumbled. Above us, angry-looking clouds gathered and churned. They looked like a fleet of huge black warships gathering for battle, but the rest of the sky in every direction was completely clear. I didn't need to be a meteorologist to know something was very wrong with this picture. Joanna pointed to our left. Go that way, she said, as leaves and bits of trash began to swirl above the cobblestones. Use the side streets, find another way into the cathedral. Go, dale. Violet and I nodded, then took off running, with Juan leading the way, his massive yellowish fur rippling like a golden waterfall. Around us, the wind whipped and howled, and huge bolts of lightning exploded overhead, sizzling through the sky. The clouds broke. Rain began to pour down. Fat, slow drops at first, then getting fatter and faster, until they pounded down from the sky like millions of angry little fists. My shirt instantly stuck to my skin, my sneakers squished like silk sponges. Muddy puddles had formed everywhere, and the cobbles, worn smooth by centuries of foot traffic, had become dangerously slick. My feet kept slipping and sliding all over the place, and I nearly ate it, like 5 different times. Once one grabbed my arm just before I cracked my head on the edge of one of the benches scattered everywhere. I would have thanked him, but there wasn't any time. "This way!" the Bossawan roared. We dashed into the narrow side street lined with shops. Tables and chairs crowded us on both sides. Dim display windows blurred by. Above us, along the pointy ledges of the roofs, I caught glimpses of dark shapes flitting in and out of view. I hoped it was just a bunch of curious pigeons, but then lightning flashed, turning the world white, and my worst fear was confirmed. The Calejas. Dozens of them, racing along the rooftops, spinning and whirling and twirling in some sort of festive-looking rain dance. Their bright pale eyes stared down at us. Mischievous smirks twisted their tiny lipless mouths. "Aye," I shouted, pointing wildly. "Up there! A bunch of them on the roof!" Juan heard me loud and clear. He dug a pickaxe out of his bushy beard and flung it at the edge of the roof like a frisbee. It exploded through the corner like a bomb, sending a handful of weather fairies flying. Their itty-bitty bodies spun end over end as they hurtled screaming and flailing into the swirling sky. Abruptly, the rain slowed to a drizzle. The wind stopped. Even the sky seemed to lighten a bit. "Nice shot!" Violet yelled. "That'll show 'em." Only it didn't. The storm picked back up just as suddenly as it had died down, and with even more ferocity this time. An icy gust of wind howled down from the sky and tore through the alleyway, tugging viciously at our clothes, pulling at our hair and making my eyes water. Violet's gown billowed out behind her like a sail. Debris began pelting us from every direction, and anything that weighed less than a couple of pounds went flying. As we neared the end of the street, the wind picked up even more, blowing hard enough to rattle the windows of the little shops. Banners began to rip. Signboards advertising yesterday's specials were caught up in swirling drafts. A huge wooden table rolled past me as if guided by an invisible hand and crashed through a cafe's front window, spraying glass everywhere. And even though Juan shielded us with his massive body as we dashed past, I still felt a blast of shards against my legs and sneakers. "Father!" he roared, urging us on. Up ahead, the narrow cobblestone path veered right, and we followed it, our feet scrabbling from traction on the wet stone. My heart was a runaway train in my chest. My throat burned, my sides ached. I wasn't sure how much longer I could keep going like this. My lungs felt like they were on the verge of bursting, but I didn't stop. We came out in a wide back street flanked by old brick buildings. The one to our left had small balconies with wrought iron rails. A couple of the rails had been partially ripped out of the walls and now dangled at the mercy of the raging winds. One suddenly came free as I ran underneath it, torn off the wall by a sudden gust. I didn't have time to avoid it. The railing would have split me in two if the Bossawan hadn't swatted it away with the back of one enormous fist. There was a squeal of metal as the railing met Juan's knuckles, and then a deafening clatter as it crashed to the ground somewhere behind us. Juan, meanwhile, didn't even flinch. The guy was unbelievable. "Those things are everywhere!" Violet shouted, looking up at the buildings, her eyes huge and full of panic. "What are we gonna do?" "Just keep running," I shouted as we pounded down a short set of concrete steps. "We're almost there." Thunder crashed and forks of blue lightning crackled across the sky. I could feel the buzzing tingle of electricity as it skipped over my skin like 1,000 tiny tentacles. The rain turned to hell. The pebble-sized hunks of ice stung our arms and ricocheted off the sides of the buildings, sending bits of icy shrapnel whizzing by our faces. They splashed at us, as we dashed between a couple of newer buildings and spilled out into another plaza, this one larger and wider than the last. Ahead of us, in its center, stood an elaborate stone statue, 4 horses with webbed feet supporting a coffin. I think it was supposed to be the coffin of St. James, on top of which sat an angel with a bright star in its upraised hand. Hailstones pounded the statue mercilessly, but water still spewed from the horses' stony mouths, the streams whipping this way and that in the gusty wind, and just beyond it, flanked on one side by the iconic Torre del Reloj, or clock tower, loomed the cathedral. Almost there, I told myself. Casi, casi! Quickly now, shouted the familiar voice, and I glanced back to see Queen Joanna charging up the path behind us, her long-tiered gown fluttering out behind her like wings. Her hands and feet were moving so fast they blurred, and she caught up with us almost immediately. "Eyes straight ahead, children," she ordered. "No looking back." But of course, when someone tells you not to look back, well, you can't really help it. My gaze drifted past her toward the narrow tile-lined alley, and what I saw froze my blood. Swelling up behind us like a massive foaming tidal wave of blackness was an army of Calecas. There must have been thousands of them, no, tens of thousands of those tiny, bald-headed fairies with their pale eyes, toothless grins, and bony skeletal wings that looked like they belonged in some sort of fossil exhibit. The sound of their wings beat in my ears like thunder, and as if that weren't bad enough, El Sombrerón suddenly emerged from the shadows to our left. "Oi, hey, I just wanna talk, okay?" he said, gently strumming his guitar. For some reason, his freakishly calm demeanor made my pulse kick up another notch, and I swung my head around, running even harder now. "Do not stop!" Joanna instructed us. "No matter what you see, do not stop until we are through the cathedral doors." "Oi, lady! You think I'm messing around here?" El Sombrerón yelled. "Okay then, let's play." No sooner had he spoken those words than jagged bolts of angry red lightning began spitting down from the sky like artillery fire, hammering into the ground and throwing up huge chunks of scorched stone. Some struck so close I could feel my hair crackle with static. One sizzled into the cobbles directly in our path, leaving my ears buzzing and my eyes burning with the afterimage. It happened so fast I hadn't even time to scream. Honestly, I didn't even have time to flinch, but I knew it was only a matter of seconds before one of us got deep-fried to a tender crisp. With a wild cry, Queen Joanna threw up a hand. Her fingers spread wide and shafts of blinding light shot from between them, forming a bubble of blue energy above us that sparked and flared as it deflected lightning bolt after lightning bolt. Thunder boomed everywhere. The plaza rumbled with its incredible power. I ran on blindly. Violet was right on my hip, her hair whipping across my face, her breath rasping in and out, in and out. The queen, meanwhile, was still leading the way, with Juan only a stride or two behind. We were so close now I could see the intricate carvings above the 2 doors that faced the Plateria square and on the great pillars that both flanked and separated them. In the fiery, flickering light of the death bolts, the designs were breathtaking. Not that I had much breath left in me, though. "Onto the cathedral, niños!" "Niños!" Joanna cried. She flicked her wrist, and the massive iron doors flew open as if punched by an invisible giant fist. The instant we stepped inside, the Basawan slammed the doors shut behind us with a reverberating boom, almost as loud as the thunder itself. Then he looped a rusty iron chain around the giant knob, sealing us in. My ears rang in the sudden silence. "That's it?" Violet rasped, hands on her knees, chest heaving. "I mean, you don't expect that to keep them out, do you?" But Joanna had already disappeared into the shadows of the sanctuary. "The cathedral is warded," she called back. "It'll buy us some time, though. Perhaps not enough. Almost." Right, well, on that note, boys and girls, we're going to go to our first music break. And on Bliss Break, we have King Cinnamon from by Afra Nigeria with Fantastic and Ala Imo Eberella. Then we have Hosni Bronx from, well, originally Jamaica, but also hailing from the Bronx in New York, so he goes back and forth a lot, with Dance as a Lion. And then Brick Casey from the Milwaukee area with Main Thing. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
We swap on the beat. Like the water bam bam. King Cinnamon. Oh shit, baddest. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's ball, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's ball, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Put your brother, baby, gather something. Come on closer, baby, gather 19. I know you better, but I am the king. Your backside bigger than Bombay. Baby girl, broncotum. I like the way you want your broncotum. Baby girl, broncotum. I like the way you want your broncotum. Jamaica, Ghana, shout out to the ladies in Asia, Nigeria, South Africa. Say me love you. Please me, baby. Yeah. Turn up from you. Yeah. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Shake your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Give me love. Show me love. Oh, give me love. Me want you, me love you. Give me love. Oh, give me love. Hey, please me, baby. Oh. Yeah, turn up from you. Yeah, take your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's ball, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Shake your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's ball, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. King Cinnamon. You know what I'm saying?
We spot on the mix. Lift it all.
Why Babylon, you want our
We don't want your frustration. You may move up, rescue your history. We celebrate the love coming from God. We celebrate the conquer of Judah love. Rasta dance as a lion in this place full of positive vibe. Yeah, Rasta dance for our nation. Hey. You are my rage, you are my strength, you are my love, you are my heart. Rasta rose as a lion. Selassie I, only Mount Zion. Oh, people are irate. In this place we have the fire. Dance, reggae music come from Jah. Dance, around this place, Rasta. Dance, it's our chance to unite and chant the word. People in love, people in love, people in love, people in love. Yeah. Humanity want to protect humanity. We have to save people from poverty. We don't want your frustration. We don't want your ambush Babylon.
We swap on speed.
Ka anyị kelee Chineke makwa n'ala Imo bụ ndị njem ọnụ. Ka anyị kelee onye nwe ụwa ịmakwa n'ala Imo bụ ndị njem ọnụ. Imo, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo steeti, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo steeti, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo ekerelo. Democracy emeriela, ndị Imo emeriela, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo steeti, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo ekerelo. Democracy emeriela, ndị Imo emeriela, Emeka mara mma, ebere mara mma, Ọbana mara mma, First Lady mara mma, Emeka ịdị ọha mma, Emeka ịdị ọha mma, Omenka hụrụ anya n'ịdị ọha mma, Omenka hụrụ anya nwa, Emeka mee gị mbọdị mma, Emeka mee gị mbọdị mma, Emeka pụta n'ọgbọ, ụmụ ụwa wulie elu, Emeka pụta n'ọgbọ, ụmụ ụwa emewe mkpọtụ, Emeka mee gị mbọdị mma, Emeka mee gị mbọdị mma, ndị m jeje mba, nwa njeje mba, ndị m jemano, Deputy Governor Imo State chiri ike, Gerard Ronna Ikaraka, Wokoma dị mma kpọrọ akpọ, Deputy Governor were dere gị mma, Aluguda dere gị mma, Alimo State dere gị mma, ala Nigeria mara gị mma, onye jemano, Stanley Nwamuche Karaka, onye Babamba, President Good Life Foundation Shirike, President General, Senate Group of Companies, President General, Financial Matter Karaka, Alo were dere gị mma, Alambise dere gị mma, Alimo State dere gị mma, ala Nigeria mara gị mma, onye jemano, Franklin Neji Shirike, Pepe Arabido Hotels, ABC Transport Karaka, Alo were dere gima. Alampise dere gima. Alimo State dere gima. Ala Nigeria mara gima o. Uchonya go chande. Uchonya go chande. Honorable Mokoma dima. Onye horo ni akeleli ya o. Ma wugi ye. Otufurago. Ginando tugio. Ma wunule. Njiji gari jinala Imo State yo. Ma wugi ye. Ginando tugio. Ma wunule. Mini gari zonala Imo State yo. Alo were dere gima. Alo were dere gima. Alimo State dere gima. Ala Nigeria mara gima. The German Orange Drugs Limited. Jisa Anthony Ifani Chukundu business na Ishirike. Ikenga di chele. Pride of his people. Most outstanding one. Okoma marama. Iborabo. Alo were dere gima. Ali Jato dere gima. Alimo State dere gima. Ala Nigeria mara gima. Honorable Jogwagu Shirike. Honorable Binna Shirike. Jere Labosa Shirike. Tochukwa Kereke Shirike. Okahu Be Shirike. Injina Benin Shirike. Onyamana Construction. Woko Madema Ikaraka. Onye Shiwore Hebowarani. Dejemu Imarama. Woko Mande Jemba. Woko Madema Ikaraka. Wiz Popule. Ibo Felamo. Onyamana Pito. Akana Kumpa. Ikaraka. Eziwa Mama. Mr. Ludiriwa. Woko Meje Jemba. CEO Elizabeth Ventures. Ikaraka. Democracy Merielo. Ndime Merielo. Democracy Merielo. Ndime Merielo. Alime Gerelo. Alime Gerelo. Thank God I'm from Imo State. Emeka has come to rejuvenate. Imo State, make you jubilate, make you celebrate. Emeka Shikwen say, this one no be said them say. Emeka has come to rejuvenate. Imo State, celebrate, make you jubilate. Ala mekele His Excellency Achikudenwa. Mekele kwa His Excellency Dr. Hakim. Yemaka Right Honorable BDK. Mekele kwa Right Honorable Jones Oyereri. Ala mekele Senator Onyebuchi Mr. Empowerment. Mekele kwa Right Honorable Emeka Chinedu. Umo mimo lowali bia meziena alimo. Alima Dilama.
Cliffito.
I like it when you pop it, drop it, swing. Nah, don't stop it, doing that thing. Go, go, girl, keep doing that thing. I just wanna make you my main thing. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Vanilla chocolate flavor, you're the only one that I'm searching for. You the one for me and I can't complain. You sunshine anytime it rain. Not around then I might go insane. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Honey, you so sweet, I can't ignore. Thinking about you both more and more. Making it pop and drop and swing. I could be the king and you my queen. Yeah, you look good, but you insane. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Who's them dudes in the back with the black on? Crew deep, don't sleep or slack on. Come to the money, honey, I'ma get a stack on. Excuse me, ma, can I get my Mac on? To the left, throw it to the right. Do it like you wanna do it to me all night. From the block, kid know how to act hard. Like brick house, women with a fat backyard. In the club with me and my man's killing that. In the back door with me and my man chilling that. I'm on the floor, I'm like, damn, she killing that. It's going down, no cop around, feeling that. I'm fly, I'm a guy that'll get him. Play a like me, need two of you with him. Call you a lollipop and I wanna lick you. Number one, my top choice of pick. Yeah, give it to me, ma. Go, go, girl. Now don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Break it down for me. Get it gone. Can you keep it going? On and on. Now give it to me, ma. Go, go, girl. Now don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Hey, break it down for me. Get it gone. Cause you got it going on and on. Can't deny, boo, that you too fly. Anytime that I look you in the eye, a phenomenon that I can't explain. Like the things you're doing to my brain. You don't only wanna take away my pain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Can't stop thinking about how you move and all the things that I'ma do to to you. True, this might be a little bit strange. Don't care if I don't even know your name. That's why I wanna tell you this simple and plain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that. Who's them chicks all thick with the pumps on? Lumps in the front, back with the bumps on. Not a cat hoping that he get his humps on. I'm way beyond with them other chumps on. Sweet enough to eat and he might bite you. Wanna make love to you, I don't wanna fight you. Not a body like you, not a one like you. When you come around, no telling what he might do. Right now in the club, who the dawn? Want a man that got it going on later on. I could tell by the dancing, you digging this song. You can tell I've been digging you all night long. And I love to be digging in you all night long. Party right here, hottie all night long. Let's flex it to the coat check, exit to the Lexus, Nexus, triple exit. Come on, give it to me, mom. Go, go, girl. Nah, don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Break it down for me, get it gone. Can you keep it going? On and on and on. Now give it to me, mom. Go, go, girl. Nah, don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Hey, break it down for me, get it gone. Cause you got it going on and on and on. I like it when you pop it, drop it, swing. Nah, don't stop it, doing that thing. Go, go, girl, keep doing that thing. I just wanna make you my main thing. You pop it, drop it, swing. Nah, don't stop it, doing that thing. Go, go, girl, keep doing that thing. I just wanna make you my main thing. Vanilla chocolate flavor, you're the only one that I'm searching for. You the one for me and I can't complain. You sunshine anytime it rain. Not around then I might go insane. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that. Honey, you so sweet, I can't ignore. Thinking about you both more and more. Making it pop and drop and swing. I could be the canyon, you my queen. Yeah, they look good, but you I'm saying. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that. Can't deny that you too fly. Anytime that I look you in the eye, a phenomenon that I can't explain. Like the things you're doing to my brain. You the only one to take away my pain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that. Can't stop thinking about how you move and all the things that I'ma do to you. True, this might be a little bit strange. Don't care if I don't even know your name. That's why I wanna tell you this simple and plain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby. Now don't you stop that.
Welcome back, Welcome Crew. Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's The Late Night in the Rockies. Thanks for hanging in there through our music break. If you didn't, and you just skipped ahead, hey, no worries. Getting back to our book, Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows by Ryan Calejo. Santiago de Compostela Cathedral was arguably my grandmother's favorite place in the whole wide world. I could remember her describing it to me in painstaking detail even back when I was still in diapers. She'd go on and on about the soaring vaulting ceilings, the Gothic cloisters, the Portico de la Gloria, and especially the high altar with its gold leaf canopy that covered the crypt and the massive Solomonic columns twined with grape leaves. Ever since I was little, I'd always dreamed of coming here myself one day. I'd imagined walking down the narrow aisles and taking in all the amazing artistry, the history. You know, just sort of hanging out, but today was definitely not that day. Joanna led us through the cathedral at the breakneck pace, flying around corners and under archways, pounding down long hallways and zigzagging her way through forests of stone columns. Honestly, I had no idea how she could tell where she was going. It was so dark in here I couldn't see so much as a sliver of light. Twice I almost ran headfirst into Juan's hairy rock-hard butt cheeks, and once I actually did, smacking my head on a gluteus maximus so dense and muscular it might as well have been a hunk of rock. Finally we came to a tiny room somewhere toward the back of the cathedral, the cobwebs dangling from the ceiling and not a single piece of furniture anywhere on the lumpy stone floors. There was only a basement door, which was crisscrossed with chains and padlocked. I thought Juan would have to go all beast mode to bust through, but then Joanna raised a hand and suddenly the chains came to life. grinding and clinking until they undid themselves and the padlock snapped off. Juan quickly took hold of a slim metal handle and lifted the door, which groaned like a giant waking from a 200-year nap, then motioned for us to follow. Inside a narrow stone staircase led down many flights of steps. The walls were made of porous rock, and it was pitch dark, but I thought I could hear water bubbling close by. The whole place felt ancient and undisturbed. When we reached the bottom, we found ourselves in a square-shaped room with low earthen ceilings and a large square-shaped pool in the middle. The pool itself couldn't have been more than 3 feet deep, but the water was such a deep azure color that it looked almost black. And it shimmered as if it had been sprinkled with millions of tiny diamonds. Rippling patterns danced across the walls, making the room feel like it was in constant motion. The pool was the only light down here, but it was more than enough. "Welcome to the Basin of Youth," Joanna said proudly. "The what?" I was pretty sure I hadn't heard that right. "The Basin of Youth," she repeated. Do you think she's talking about the Fountain of Youth? It was built in the early 1500s by the famed explorer who discovered the legendary fountain in St. Augustine, Florida. He wanted a place where he could bathe in the life-giving waters whenever he returned to Spain. She knelt at the edge of the pool, skimmed her hand along its glassy surface. As I heard it, more than 10,000 gallons were loaded into huge wooden crates and shipped back across the Atlantic on El San Cristobal to fill this very pool. "That's nuts," Violet murmured, her gaze as fixed on the pool, her eyes impossibly blue in the glittery play of the lights. Actually, it proved to be the most wise decision. Within a few years of its discovery, the limestone walls that encased the Fountain of Youth began to crack, and other sources of water from various subterranean tributaries mingled with the fountain's water, contaminating it. These waters, however, remain pure to this day. Wow, now that was some interesting history. Maybe if stories like that actually found their way into textbooks, my third period wouldn't be such a snooze fest. "But where's the Oracle?" I asked, squinting into the semi-darkness. There didn't seem to be anyone in here but us. Joanna's lips broke into a cunning smile. "Come and see." I wasn't sure where this was going, but I knelt beside her anyway. As I peered over the edge, I saw my reflection staring back at me, my face rippling in the glassy blue water. This close, the pool looked way deeper, maybe as many as 20 feet deep. I half expected to see a school of small fish swim by. "Okay, so where is he?" The Witch Queen's eyes shone on the pool. They gleamed like the square-cut emeralds in her crown. "First you must go for a swim." "A swim? Was she crazy? The water is probably like 50 degrees, if that." I didn't see a wetsuit lying around anywhere, but just as I opened my mouth to tell that I wasn't a big fan of hypothermia, or going swimming in jeans for that matter, I felt one of her hands clamp painfully around the back of my neck. I barely had time to register what was happening before she thrust me head down, dunking me face first into the pool. Instantly, a surge of icy water rushed up my nose, stinging my eyes. Bubbles swirled around me. For half a second, I was too stunned to do anything but just sort of float there, my head and shoulders bobbing in the freezing water. Then I realized that the witch had lost her mind, that she was trying to drown me, and my brain kicked into survival mode. I flailed and thrashed, slapping at her hands, prying at her fingers, trying desperately to make her let go. But nothing worked. The witch was viciously strong and viciously determined to hold me under. Her grip tightened. She forced my head down deeper. More water shot up my nose and down the back of my throat. My lungs filled with liquid. I started to choke. Somewhere behind me, it sounded like a heck of a ways away. I could hear Violet screaming at the top of her lungs. Screaming, "You're going to kill him!" Joanna, however, didn't seem to care. She wouldn't let me come up for air. My panic turned to terror as black spots began to dance before my vision. The pressure on my chest was agonizing. I couldn't hold my breath any longer. I had to breathe. Just when I thought I was about to pass out, something strange happened. The world around me began to rumble, and suddenly the floor of the pool fell away in a swirl of white tile and black stone. A circular chasm opened before my eyes, a spinning, twisting vortex of blackness and water. I felt myself being pulled toward it, felt Joanna's hands let go, and then I was sucked headfirst into the darkness. Lightning flashed around me, thunder rolled, powerful currents tore at my body, slapping at me with their icy fingers. Desperate, I had tried to suck in a breath and was surprised to find that I could. My lungs instantly filled with air, with fresh oxygen, and I can't even begin to describe how great that felt. The world began to harmonize around me. Sights, sounds, and smells all melted back together. I realized I wasn't falling anymore. No, I was actually standing on solid ground, on my own 2 feet. What the... I looked around and saw with a jolt of surprise that I was standing in the middle of a lush tropical jungle. Tall trees rose around me, their trunks fuzzy with moss, their branches draped with vines. A woodpecker chirped nearby. Dozens of blue and green butterflies flitted through the bushes. I heard whooping and gibbering above me and glanced up to see a large gray monkey clinging to the underside of a branch, watching me with its little silver-ringed eyes. Coolest thing ever. My dad would have loved it here. I smiled, inhaling deeply for the first time. The air was damp and hot, but ridiculously pure. I couldn't have been within 30 miles of a city. This wasn't just jungle. This was deep jungle. How the heck had I gotten here? Oi, quien va ahi? Shouted a voice, Spanish male. Announce yourself at once, or meet your fate at the point of mi espada. I rolled toward the sound of the voice. Behind me stood a man about my height with tightly cropped reddish hair and an impeccably styled mustache goatee combo. He had lean aristocratic features, sharp brown eyes. He wore a snug-fitting waist-length jacket. I think it was called a doublé, loose-fitting hose and tall black boots. An old-fashioned pistola hung loosely from his belt, and his long curved sword flashed brilliantly in the fierce tropical sun as if he lifted it, grazing the side of my Adam's apple. Dude looked like a fancy pirate, a dangerous fancy pirate. Habla, I commanded, speak. I was still a little dazed, but I managed to pick my name out of my brain. I'm Charlie Hernandes. Charlie. He stretched out my name so it sounded like Charlie. Should I know you? He asked, making a funny face. I don't think so. Slowly my gaze drifted past him to a small lake where a trio of miniature wooden ships floated and bobbed on the turquoise water. They looked like old sailing ships from the 1500s, equipped with everything from solid wood masts to huge white sails with red crosses on them. Whoever built them had obviously taken the great time to get every last detail perfect. Did you make all those yourself? I asked, pointing past him. Aye, see, of course. A big grin split his deeply tanned face, and the pressure suddenly lifted off my throat as he lowered the sword. They're my pride and joy, the exact replicas of La Santa Maria, El Santiago, y El San Cristobal. Te gustan. Those names definitely ring a bell. Yep, they're awesome. He stuck out a hand. Ponce, nice to meet you. Wait, Ponce like De Leon fame? Correcto mundo, muchacho. Ah, snap. I actually go to your middle school, I said. And when he only stared, I quickly added, well, not your school, of course, but the one they named after you. It's a middle school, Ponce de Leon Middle. It's in Coral Gables. That's in Miami, Florida. Oh, and they named the street after you, too, also in Miami. Ponce was giving me a funny look. What? I asked. Nada. I'm just thinking. So, I leave my beautiful home in España. Traverse a treacherous and violent sea, overcome starvation. A general lack of supplies established the first European settlement in Puerto Rico. And then, as if all that isn't impressive enough, I discover Florida. And still, all you people could think to do in my honor was to name a middle school and a street? Was I actually being scolded by a 500-year-old explorer? Well, it's a pretty nice school, though, and a nice street, as far as streets go, anyway. I'll have to take your word for it, I suppose. He rubbed his chin with one hairy, knuckled hand, then started mumbling to himself. A middle school in the street. No creo para nada. This was obviously a touchy subject for him, but I didn't have time to try to help him through it. I had my own problems at the moment. By the way, I have an itty-bitty question. Where the heck am I? And what are you doing here? What am I doing here? This is my island. I'm El Gobernador. The question is, what are you doing here? I'm looking for the Oracle. Well, in that case, I have some good news for you, muchacho. You have found him. Eyes bug, you're the Oracle? Don't sound so surprised. I was an explorer, sailor, governor. I named Florida for the love of the sea. You don't think I can handle being a part-time diviner? But wasn't the only reason you ended up in Florida because you got lost looking for Bimini? He frowned. What's your point? No, nothing. I was just thinking an oracle would make such a silly mistake. I see, so silly. I'd like to see you try to survive 30 long days at a sea with nothing but a map, a compass, and your steely Spanish intuition to guide you. Oh, and a little information for you, amigo. I was looking for the Fountain of Youth, not Bimini, and I found it. All my other missions were simply covers for my life's one great obsession. Interesting. So the fountain actually gave you eternal life, huh? See, but not exactly how I imagined it would be. A flock of blackbirds flew overhead, chirping loudly. I looked up. The sky was crazy bright and cloudless. Where are we? I asked. Puerto Rico. Well, Spirit Puerto Rico, to be more precise, the most beautiful place in all the land of the dead. His words took a few seconds to sink in, but when they finally did, my heart slammed against my ribs so hard, I wouldn't have been surprised if it had actually burst out of my chest and gone running off into the trees. La Tierra de los Muertos? I shrieked. See, and to think Columbus's snot-nosed brat of a son, Senor Diego Colon, muscled me out of the governorship all those years ago. Ah, but now we're both dead, and only one of us is governor of La Isla de Encantamiento. Would you like to guess who? Espere? I said. Hold up, so I'm actually in the land of the dead? Si, senor, you most certainly are. Are you dead? Si, senor, I most certainly am. Am I? No, senor, you most certainly are not. He glanced down at his Spanish longsword, which glinted brilliantly in his hand. Would you like to be? Most certainly not, but wait, doesn't the Mano Peluda control the land of the dead? Much of it sea, all around my island, beyond that great seas, evil plots and schemes and the fires of war are constantly stoked, but not here. I looked around, and it was hard to imagine evil being anywhere near a place like this. Looks like we're in paradise. If you look hard enough, muchacho, you can find paradise even in the darkest places. Wait up, you just told me that the Fountain of Youth gave you eternal life. And you're dead. I see, gracias for pointing that out, Captain Obvious. However, if my troops had not been ambushed by the Calusa Indians near Punta Gorda, and I myself not being shot in the thigh with a poisoned arrow, I would never have died of natural causes, hence eternal life. He got a faraway look in his eyes. In fact, I'd still be sailing my beautiful Maria around the Caribbean, even to this day. I felt my hand ball into a fist at my side. I couldn't believe this. Couldn't believe Joanna hadn't told me up front I'd have to travel to the land of the dead to meet the Oracle. How shady was that? Whatever. I didn't have time to think about that right now. I just had to find a way out of here, but first... The Queen wanted you to check me out, I told Ponce, to see if I might be El Cambiador, the Morphling. The Morphling? Ponce's gaze narrowed. He looked completely caught off guard. What do you know about the Morphling? Just what's in the stories, I admitted. How the hero manifests animal traits and uses them and the witch's own vanity to defeat her and save the village. Those were actually some of my favorite stories, though, like most myths, the details usually change depending on where you heard it. A fisherman in Andalusia would tell you that the Morphling defeated the witch by manifesting fins and gills, and then Changeling challenging her to a race through the Mediterranean, where she drowned in her own tempest. A farmer in Sonora Desert in Mexico would say that the Morphling beat her by manifesting an armadillo shell and challenging her to a contest to see who could withstand the fierce heat of the desert sun the longest. There were even a few versions of the myth where the witch kills the Morphling, actually cuts out its heart and eats it, becoming even more powerful. Those had always freaked me out when I was little. Ah, muy bien, the world-famous explorer smiled proudly at me. But did you also know that all cambiadores have a chulachaqui in their family tree? I shook my head. I knew that chulachaquis were these cool forest-dwelling dwarf dudes that had the ability to transform into pretty much any animal. They could take the form of humans, too. Some myths even considered them the protectors of the rainforest, but I had no idea that they had anything to do with Morphlings. See, they are related, you might say, but because Morphlings do not completely morph into an animal, they can manifest multiple animal traits simultaneously, making them much more powerful than any shapeshifter. Makes sense. Ponce just stared at me for a moment. Well, do you? Do I what? Have a Chulachaquin in my family tree? When he nodded, I gave a little shrug. I don't think so. Let me ask you something. How did you even come to hear the tale of the Morphling? Isn't it, like, super famous? Ponce's dark eyes narrowed. Actually, it's one of the most closely guarded secrets in either of the worlds. I frowned. How could that be? My abuela had basically told me the complete opposite. Pregunta, who told you this tale? My grandma. She taught me all sorts of myths. Interessante. He paused, staring off into the leafy tangles of trees like he was pondering something complicated. A tricky crossword puzzle, maybe. After a moment, he said, Who sent you to me again? Queen Joanna. A deep frown creased his face. The witch queen of Toledo still lives, eh? I've never trusted es bruja. I can understand why, I thought. Pot sighed. Anyway, let me have a look at you. He motioned for me to move closer, and when I did, his stubby little fingers immediately went to work, picking through my hair, feeling behind my ears, even flicking me on the tip of the nose, but not once, but 3 times. I looked at him annoyed. Was that necessary? Nope, just thought you had a boogie. He pawed through my hair one last time and something flashed in his eyes. Surprise, maybe? But it was gone as fast as I thought. I must have imagined it. Finally, he stepped back, shaking his head. Bueno, I'm sorry, mi hijo. You are not the Morphling. I'm not? The disappointment in my voice surprised me. I guess I hadn't realized just how badly I'd been hoping to be the Morphling, to have an answer as crazy as an answer that would have to be to what was happening to me. Unfortunately, no. I shrugged, staring down at my wrapped-up claw. I could almost see the bright red color of the shell through the gauze. So what am I, then? Unequivocado? Ponce replied quickly. Unequivocado? What are you talking about? I knew the meaning of the word. In Spanish it meant wrong or mistaken, but I'd never heard it used like that. Don't worry about it, muchacho. Just make sure to let Joanna know, so she'll leave you alone. ¿Está bien? So that's it, then. Just one quick look and you can tell for sure. He put a slim brown hand on my shoulder. Muchacho, when you've seen as much as I have, one look is usually all it takes. Then he glanced up at the sky and shouted, Not the Morphling! So sorry, señorita! Following his gaze, I squinted against the blinding glare of sun. Who are you talking to? Never mind that. Oi, looks like you might have dropped this? Ponce squatted in the grass, pointing at something. Huh? In the mud, he said. You going to pick it up or what? Pick what up? I bent down to see what he was talking about, and just as I did, Ponce suddenly hooked an arm around my neck, pulling me in close. His breath was hot in my face as he whispered, See my uñas? He showed me his nails. They were longish, sort of clipped square at the ends and crusted with fresh mud. They look pretty dangerous, no? I've used them to whittle spears out of wood, so to slay a 300-pound boar on the beautiful western shores of South Florida, which, let me tell you, was no walk in the park, but you should know that there are far more dangerous unas on your side of the world, and one in particular. If I were you, I'd go home, home sweet home, so you kids might say, and do everything in my power to get rid of it. Might even save your life. Get rid of a fingernail? What in the world was this nut job blabbering about? Before I could ask, Ponce jumped to his feet, wiping his dirt-smudged hands on the stuff wrapped around my claw. And if I were you, I wouldn't ask any more questions, he said, aiming a warning finger at me. Spend another minute on this side, and you just might find yourself trapped here. Por toda la eternidad. Trapped here for eternity? I shrieked. Well, how do I get back? The witch didn't tell you? When I shook my head, he gave me an apologetic look. You're not going to like this part, amigo. Then he drew his pistola and thumbed back the hammer. Wait, you're not going to shoot me, are you? He shrugged. It's the faster way. Oh, come on. Wait, I shouted. What's the slow way? I want to do the slow way. But apparently the world-famous explorer, governor, sailor, whatever, didn't. He simply took aim at the center of my chest and pulled the trigger. Chapter 29. Bang! That was the last thing I heard, and then I jerked back, breaking the surface of the water with a gasp and landing hard on my butt. Shapes and shadows crowded in around me. I squinted, trying to focus. Slowly the shapes resolved themselves into faces, familiar ones. Violet, Queen Joanna, and the swan named Juan. They were standing over me, Violet on my right, Joanna, and Juan on my left. Their faces were tight, their eyes big and full of concern as they silently watched me push to my feet, dripping water. My apologies, Joanna said. It was the only way to get you across. One must be scared half to death. Violet looked terrified. Her lower lip quivered as she wrapped her fingers tightly around my upper arm. Charlie, are you okay? I nodded, blinking water out of my eyes. Yeah, fine. We saw and heard everything, the Witch Queen said. In the pool? Violet explained, pointing, like it was a movie or something. Alright, so then, what's that thing he called me? I asked Joanna. An Equivo? There was a great crashing sound above us. The entire underground cavern shuddered and shook. Loosely packed earth rained down from the ceiling. The witch's eyes flicked to the swan. They've pierced the veil. Then give us some more of those worms and brinko us out of here, Violet said. The queen frowned. I'm sorry, but I don't have any more on me. What, so we're stuck here? Stuck? Joanne echoed. Of course not. Close your eyes. The moment we did, the world seemed to wobble around us, and the next thing I knew, we were back in the Provincia, a galaxy of stars floating overhead so close it looked like I could reach out and pluck out one from the sky. Better this time, no? The queen asked. You get more and more used to it. Wait, so we don't actually have to eat anything to do the brinko thing? I said, glaring up at her. Of course not, she replied with a curious expression. What in the lands do tequila worms have to do with brinko? Nada, said Juan, shaking his massive furry cranium. Nothing. Then why the heck did you make us eat those disgusting things? I shouted at her. La Bruja's eyes flashed. She didn't like being yelled at. First of all, I did not make you do anything. Secondly, one should never engage in any form of sombra travel on an empty stomach, and tequila worms just so happen to be an excellent source of protein and dietary fiber. I'm sure. Feeling sick, I wandered over to the red leather couch near the window and plopped myself down on it. As I rolled onto my side, trying to focus on keeping this morning's breakfast down, not to mention that nasty little worm she'd made me eat, I noticed that the dirt Ponce had smeared on my cast was somehow still there, and it looked exactly like it had in the land of the dead, dark brown and possibly rich. How is this even possible? I said, holding up my arm for Joanna to see. There's dirt on me, dirt from over there. Why would that surprise you? She asked. The land of the dead is just as real as this world. Some say it's even more real. I sighed. Whatever. I wasn't even going to try to wrap my mind around that. So, what's an Unequivocado, Violet asked. You never told us. Unequivocado is a general term for someone whose physical abnormalities cannot be easily explained. The Queen replied with a sigh of her own. Most of the time it is used to refer to someone who has been mistakenly cursed, of course, because why not, right? Which unfortunately seems to be the cause of Charlie's manifestations. The good news is that it will likely go away in time, maybe by high school. With another sigh, Joanna slumped into the tall wingback chair behind her desk. Now, if you two would please excuse me, I have impending calamities and the end of the known world to deal with. But what about my parents? I said, sitting up quickly. Okay, so I'm not the morphling, but you are still going to help me find them, aren't you? Tens of thousands of people go missing in the United States alone every year, the Queen said in a tired voice. Many more, tens of thousands on a global level. I suggest you contact the local police department. Hasta luego, niños. No, come on, please. Ayadam, I started to say, but as I got to my feet, I quickly learned that helping me wasn't on Joanna's top 10 list of things to do. It probably wasn't even on her top 100. How did I know? Because half a second later, Violet and I were back outside the monastery again, standing on the wrong side of the fence, a yard or two from where we'd left the bike. Great. Slumping my shoulders, I kicked a rock into the bush, feeling totally defeated. What the heck was I supposed to do now? Perfect. Charlie, we are going to find them, Violet said, putting a hand on my shoulder. This is just a small bump in the road. When I gave her a "you've got to be kidding me" sort of look, she quickly added, okay, fine, more like a small mountain in the road, but every tough case has one. In fact, I don't think I've ever written a single piece where something didn't go wrong at first. Stuff just happens. As much as I appreciated her optimism, I wasn't in the mood for a pep talk. Let's just get out of here, I grumbled. I want to go home. Chapter 30. The following morning I walked into the school to find Alice Coutier engaging in her favorite pastime. She had Alvin pinned up against the wall of the lockers with her gang of bully clones gathered around them in a loose semicircle, laughing and knuckle-bumping each other like the brain-dead Neanderthals they were. It was a minute or two before the first bell, so the halls were virtually empty. Just a few stragglers wandering around, trying to buy themselves a few more seconds of freedom before this period. I didn't see any teachers. Man, I said I'll get you $10 tomorrow, Alvin was pleading. I don't bring lunch money to school anymore. I stopped in 3rd grade because of you. Don't you remember? Alice's grip tightened on the collar of his shirt. I remember you peeing your pants every other day in 3rd grade, but that's about it. That was one time, he shot back, and my doctor said it could have been a bout of excessive lower body perspiration, so it's still up for debate. Debate this, she said, before yanking open the locker and tossing Alvin inside. Now you make any noise in there before we let you out, and I'll personally make sure you wear your underwear as suspenders for the rest of your natural-born life. Then she slammed the locker shut, clipped on a combination locker, and her squad of stooges started banging on the flimsy-dented aluminum and laughing their heads off. The sight of someone being abused like that, of a bunch of morons taking pleasure in the suffering of others, taking pleasure in the suffering of my best friend, no less, sent a surge of anger through me, and I charged up the hall, pushing my way through the clique of idiots and getting right in the chief idiot's face. Let him out, I growled. Right now, or else. Alice looked genuinely shocked. Was that like a threat? Exactly like one. And next thing I knew, I had grabbed Alice by the collar of her crisp white jersey and pinned her up against the wall, her feet dangling an inch or two off the ground. Behind me I heard several gasps as most of her posse backed away. Let me go! Alice rasped, looking disbelievingly down at what she must have assumed was just a regular old cast covering my regular old hand. Now! Apologize, I said, tightening my grip, and then I'll think about it. I apologize, she poked out quickly. What? I said I apologize. Okay? I still didn't hear you. I turned my head, saying it into my good ear. I said I friggin' apologize, you nut, I apologize. Good choice, I said sarcastically. Then I let go, and she crumpled to the ground in a heap, panting, her hungry red eyes boring into me like lasers. Alice rubbed at the bottom of her throat with one of her meaty mitts. You're going to pay for that, punk. Do you take cash or credit? I said. When I made like I was going to grab her again, she flinched, red with sudden embarrassment, then scrambled to her feet and ran away down the hall. Most of her crew went after her, but a few of the denser ones just stood there for a moment, staring at me with looks of utter bewilderment. It wasn't until they were all gone that I realized how crazy what I had just done was. I stared down at my claw, stunned. Where had all that power come from? Someone there? Alvin squeaked. Kind of dark in here and stinky. I glanced around to make sure no one was watching, then snipped the lock with my claw and swung open the locker. Inside, a defeated-looking Alvin was curled into a tiny ball, his arms crushed up against his body, glasses dangling precariously from the tops of his ears. Comfy? I asked. His eyes opened slowly, and a confused look passed over his face. Oh, for some reason he didn't look or sound very excited to see me. Not exactly the response I was expecting. Oh, is that all I get for busting you out? Thanks, he said in a flat voice. That's what amigos are for, right? Amigos? He laughed a low, bitter sound, then climbed out of the locker and started up the hall. Hey, where are you going? Class? You're not going to wait for me? Why should I? Confused and a little insulted, to be completely honest, I jogged after him. Alvin, bro, what's wrong? He rolled on me. His eyes were huge and red-rimmed. You, dude, you're what's wrong. Me? Yes, you. You've been a ghost, dude. You're never online. You don't return any of my calls. You act like you don't see my texts. He frowned, looking disappointed, disgusted even. You missed registration, man. Oh, snap, registration. I'd forgotten all about that. His voice shook as he said, we were supposed to be a band, man. A team. How could you sell us out like that? I've been really busy lately I told you that. Yeah, I know. Busy running around with little Miss What's-Her-Face. His eyes went to my cast and he shook his head. Look at that. You even went and busted up your arm and didn't think to give me a call. His lower lip trembled. You've been totally ignoring us, man. Totally ignoring me. Dude, Alvin, it's not like that. I started to say, but he cut me off. No, dude, I'll tell you what it's not like. It's not like we were Facebook friends. We've been best friends since kindergarten. But the second some pretty girl smiled at you, you forgot all about that. You sold us out for a girl, Charlie, and for Violet Ray of all people. She's not that bad, Al. Not that bad. She's a Mattel, dude, a plastic. The girl probably has MIC stamped on the back of her neck. What's that supposed to mean? Made in China? Alright, bro, chill. Now you're being a little rude. Funny part is, you're so blinded by her glossy lips and shiny nails that you don't even see what she's doing. I frowned. What are you talking about? You don't know her. Think about it, Charlie. You've been going to school with this girl for like 6 years. That's half your life. And all this time she hasn't looked your way, but then all of a sudden she becomes head of the student newspaper and you start acting all weird and stuff, and now she's all over you? His eyes narrowed to angry little slits. You honestly don't see what's going on. No, I honestly don't. That's because you've got stars in your eyes, kid, but you're her next project. You're her next front-page story. Please, I said, rolling my eyes at him. Give me a break. But what if he was right? I felt stupid even considering the possibility, but how well did I really know Violet? I mean, yeah, she seemed genuine. She seemed amazing, but what if it was all an act? Just a twisted little game to get close to me, to get her front-page story. She doesn't care about you, dude, Alvin said. Never has. Bro, look, I know you think you're protecting me and all, and I respect that. I appreciate that, but that's not what's going on here, believe me. Okay, then, what's going on? Clear this whole thing up for me, because obviously I have no clue. He crossed his arms, waiting. Go ahead, I'm listening. I hesitated, not sure how much to say. I mean, how much could I even tell him? This whole thing was insane, and if I told him everything, told him about how much of a freak I was becoming, can I honestly expect him to accept me? when I couldn't even accept myself. But before I could decide, he said, "That's what I thought," then turned and started walking away. Dude, hold up. Give me a freaking second to think. I was about to go after him when the sound of music, was that mariachi music, filled the hall. I had time to wonder, but isn't band class on the other side of the school? Then something hard and completely invisible nailed me right in my gut. I gasped as the force of it lifted me off my feet and slammed me to the ground with a bone-crunching thud. Everything happened so suddenly that, at first, I didn't even feel any pain, only shock, but when the music stopped, I got an even bigger shock. All at once, a figure materialized in the hallway before my very eyes. And not just any figure. It was El Sombrero. On that note, boys and girls, oh yeah, before we go to break, I gotta reach the second quote of the second hour. So the quote for hour 2 is, "A friend is a person with a sneaky knack of saying good things about you behind your back." On that note, we're going to our second music break. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Hello? I'm trying to call my baby, but it's poor reception, cause she ain't picking up. Hello? Hello? Listen, Mr. Operator, I've been up all day and I'm trying to dial my baby's number. See, it only rings straight to the machine. 617. Now I know something must be wrong with this cell phone, cause my baby knows she wouldn't hang up on me. So tell me what's going on. I see most of the time phone only ring twice. How you doing, boo? Cool, how's your date? Nice. Now she ain't picking up, plus a text her. Put it to your plane, she's the one to get next to. It's not just the way, it's all day with affection. I'm hoping this detection is poor reception. Straight to the machine, mean it's like clicking my car, get connected quick. I'm saying, hey, Mr. Cellular Phone Man, I see there's something wrong with my line. I try to dial my baby's number, but get click every time. Mr. Cellular Phone Man, I see there's something wrong with my line. I try to dial my baby's number, but get click every time. Why she ain't picking up, yo? I see the phone rings quite a few times before any answer. And I know she's home, well at least till 3. And I know she's home. Now I don't mean to be any bother operator, but could you just check and connect this call for me? Cause I know she's on. Now see, the first time I call, I'm like, maybe she working. And the second time I call, I'm like, little bit hurting. But the third time I call, I'm like, going berserk. And now half a day gone, can't get her on the horn. Usually in the morning, maybe it's something wrong. I mean, she wouldn't take this long to call back. See, we tight like that, she's supposed to be mine. So could you please try it one more time? Hey, Mr. Cellular Phone Man, I see there's something wrong with my line. I try to dial my baby's number, but get click every time. Mr. Cellular Phone Man, I see there's something wrong with my line. I try to dial my baby's number, but get click every time. Why she ain't picking up, yo? For some reason, it's like she ain't home. Just wanna
Oh yeah, it's funky on the beat.
Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Cinnamon, cinnamon, do it softly. I said you wine your body, eat a sweetie, sweetie. Make it rock my body, I am feeling horny. Make it touch my body, I am feeling sweetie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Muko mukeji, go bere muketa. Oya muko mukeji, oya bere muketa. Daddy mu ekon, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fumi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi fisi, omo ni ejo. Daddy saucy saucy, omo ni ejo. Daddy kosi kosi, omo ni ejo. Daddy turn pussy, omo ni ejo. Daddy and his baby, them there for corner. Daddy begin the touch and the girl the holla. Now daddy begin the open the shirt collar. Now something come up, daddy begin the suck up. Daddy mu ekon, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fumi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi fisi, omo ni ejo. Daddy saucy saucy, omo ni ejo ejo. All my men they wear out. All my guys they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. All my men they wear out. All my guys they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you touch me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Cinnamon, cinnamon, do it softly. I said you wine your body, eat a sweetie, sweetie. Make it rock my body, I am feeling horny. Make it touch my body, I am feeling sweetie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Kissy, kissy, I'm money, ejo. Daddy saucy, saucy, I'm money, ejo. Daddy kosi, kosi, I'm money, ejo. Daddy kahe kosi, I'm money, ejo. Daddy count out, I'm money, ejo. Daddy comfort, daddy consist, I'm money, ejo. Daddy count 8, daddy 120, I'm money, ejo. Daddy 18, daddy 240, I'm money, ejo. Daddy 36. Daddy and the baby, them there for corner. Daddy begin the touch and the girl the holla. Daddy begin the open the shirt collar. I come to come, daddy begin the sucker. Daddy mu eko, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fumi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi fisi, omo ni ejo. Daddy saucy saucy, omo ni ejo ejo. All my men they wear out. All my guys they wear out. Imarama, 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 Imarama.
Oh yeah, it's funky on the beat.
Yeah. Oh Lord, strong light. We are ready to fight. Hard life for my people. I don't know why my people live this life. I don't know why my people live this life. The obstacle we face, is Babylon. The world is a good place, for our freedom. You take everything, you don't bring anything, Strong life, oh, not dread. We don't want to talk. No, it's time to fight, We stop talking. Babylon make you suffer. 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 What is desire? Young life. We are ready to fight. Hard life for my people. I don't know why my people live this life. I don't know why my people live this life. I don't know how to fight, 'cause my people suffer. What do you want, Babylon? I don't understand why this world is so strange, strange with my people. I don't know how to fight, but if we are together, it will work. It will work. Babylon no have no hearts. 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 My people, you have to survive. Yeah, you must rebuild you and make your own way. You must not give up. The beginning of the revolt will start. We need to follow our true destiny. Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know why my people live this life. I don't know why my people live this life. The obstacle we face, yeah, is Babylon. The world is a good place, yeah, for our freedom. You take everything, you don't bring anything, yeah, yeah. Young life, all anti-dread. We must believe in a magical, powerful force that unite us, and not just these people stay speechless again. We don't want to talk, no, it's time to fight, yeah. We start talking. Babylon make you suffer. 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 What is desire? Young life. We are ready to fight.
Welcome back, guys and ghouls. Sorry about the delay there. I had to go out chasing chickens. So Daisy and Lucille were missing, and they were missing earlier when I was out cleaning out the goose pool and stuff like that, and I just figured they're out getting bugs or something. So the kids looked in the neighborhood, which is like 3 houses, and then we had gone out in the field and looked for them, and then coming back to check behind the coop again, they're up in the tree above the picnic table. I should have looked there first, because that's where a lot of their demise came from this last fall and such. Alright, let's get back into our book, shall we? Looks like I'm gonna check this out. There it is. Alright, chapter 31. His surprisingly human-looking face, sharp Hispanic features, olive skin, a few days' worth of beard stubble swam in and out of focus as I rolled onto my side trying to suck air back into my pancake lungs. "Ay, muchacho, muchacho," he said in a low, laughing voice. "You're a hard one to get a hold of." I felt hands patting me down, going through my pockets. "Don't have it on ye, eh? Where did you hide it? Habla?" "I don't know what you're talking about," I managed to choke out. El Sobreron gave a frustrated groan, then he dropped a heavy knee across my chest, pinning me to the ground. Next thing I knew, he grabbed a handful of my hair and began to braid it so tightly that a cry of pain tore from my throat. "Just tell me where it is, and I let you go," he whispered. Into my ears I squirmed and kicked, trying to fight him off. "I don't know what you're talking about." I could barely force the words past the pain. "No say." "Don't lie to me." He twisted the knot of my hair tighter, and I cried out again. The enormous black brim of his hat stretched from one corner of my vision to the other, seeming to block out the entire world. There was only me, him, and the burning shooting pain on my scalp. "Don't you lie to me, or my face is the last you ever gonna see. Me entiendes?" "I'm not lying." "Cross your heart, hope to die, stick a needle in your eye?" "Yes," I screamed. Crazy hair-braiding goblin thought for a second, then stood up shaking his head. "Why do I believe you?" "Oh, I don't know, maybe because I'm telling the truth?" I stared up at him, rubbing my aching head, my breath still wheezing in and out of my lungs. "Dude, what do you want?" He made a face. "What do I want? What do you think I want?" "I want la una de la brua." The nail of the witch? I had no idea what he was talking about. "Never heard of it?" he asked and laughed quietly. It was a low melodic sound, almost soothing. "No one's ever told you about the cursed dagger that was born in the fiery depths of Cerro Azul, forged by the Sharuth warlords themselves, and cursed by Brujo, so wicked that just the mere sight of the blade has been known to drive the weak-minded insane." I knew the Sharuth were evil volcano-dwelling magma monsters, but I'd never heard of any cursed dagger, and when I shook my head, the guitar-playing super freak grinned and said, "Well, rumor has it that someone in your family's got sticky fingers, compadre." Know what I mean? "You're saying someone in my family stole that thing?" He laughed again, louder this time, and more genuinely. "Ay, amigo, I just can't make my mind up about you. You're either the world's greatest liar or a very clueless little chico." "I think we should go with option 2, I said. His grin widened, revealing rows of tiny pointed teeth. He reminded me of a panther with his hungry smile, and that wild, untamed look in his eye. "You don't know me very well, do you, amigo? See, I always get what I want. Saba?" "But what about the girl in the legend?" I blurted out without thinking. "The one whose parents had a priest bless her hair so you couldn't go near her anymore." "Ah, see, Sophia," he smiled, a dreamy look in his eyes. "My great love." Half a second later, his eyes suddenly cleared and a sort of angry snarl twisted his lips. Why you gotta go digging up old wounds like that, eh? ¿Qué te pasa? Maybe I'd been hanging around Violet too much, but I got the sudden instinct to flip the script on him, to start asking the questions myself. At the very least, it would buy me some time to figure out how I was going to get away from him. You work for La Mano Peluda, don't you? I said, mostly because it was the first question that popped into my brain. You know, the hairy hand? Yes, I know, but I don't work for nobody, Coso. I only work for me. And for your information, I'm not the only treasure hunter after La Una. Off my surprised look, he said, What? A man can't have a legitimate profession? You expect me to just braid horses' tails all day? He tisked me. Anyway, once word got out that La Cuca and La Mano Peluda were looking for La Una, well, everyone started looking for it. That particular bruja has been known to pay a great many quetzals for enchanted items. La Cuca. There was that name again. The one Sihuanaba had mentioned. Are you talking about that witch from all those scary myths? Myths? El Sombrero laughed. You of all people should know better by now, no? Guess he had a point there. Why, but what I'm trying to say is, it will be far better for you to deal with me than with one of my competitors, and you can trust me on that one. Some of them can be a little rough, ça va? He thought for a second. Bueno, this is what we are going to do. You're going to take me for your house, and we're going to look for La Una. If we can't find it there, then I'll let you pick the next place we go looking. If it's not there, either, then I'm going to play the last song we'll ever hear, if you know what I... The ground began to rumble. From behind us came a distant whinny of the thunderous pounding of hoofs. El Sombreron's gaze narrowed, focusing up the hall. Contra? He cursed. What's happening? Sounds like Johnny Law is nipping out my spurs again, Primo. I gotta go, for now. Vaya con Dios, niño. Taking a step back, he raised his silver guitar and began to play, strumming a slow, haunting melody. Immediately his form began to shimmer and shift with the vibration of the chords. I sat up, rubbing my eyes, but when I blinked them again, he was gone. A split second later, the deafening clatter of hoofs filled my ears, and a rush of wind swirled my hair as a massive shadow fell over me. I looked up to see a great black horse rearing high on its back legs. Scales of black armor glinted along its sides, and its eyes glowed like a pair of burning coals. Front legs the size of tree trunks pawed wildly at the air. When it finally came down, I got my first look at the rider, flowing dark robes blacker than the night itself, and a head made of pure smoke. It could only be one man. El Justo Diez, stretching one huge black-gloved hand in my direction. His voice crackled off the walls like exploding fire logs as he said, "Which way did he go?" I started to point and then realized it was pointless. He vanished. A column of smoke above his shoulders momentarily blazed fiery red. Madre? His huge sable steed let out its own wild cry. Twin pillars of hellfire shot from its nostrils, singeing the cheapo linoleum floors. I've been tracking El Sobreron since he ambushed you at the cathedral, Reyes said. We believe he may have information that could prove useful in our struggle against La Mano Peluda. But he told me that he didn't work for them, I said. He doesn't, as far as we know, but someone like him often hears much of what is spoken in darkness. I shook my head. There was so much going on, so much I didn't understand. What wasn't La Liga telling me? Why did I keep getting dragged back into all of this? Juez, what's really going on here? I said. I mean, El Sombreron thinks I have some sort of treasure, La Una de la Bruja or something. The headless rider jerked back in his saddle so abruptly that his horse whinnied and reared, its black as night hooves rising so high they crashed through the ceiling, obliterating a couple of the overhead panels. Hunks of foam rained down around us. No puede ser? Yes, cried in a thunderous voice. It can't be. The words of The sound of his words echoed up the hall loud enough to make the whole building rumble. I was surprised no one had stuck their head out into the hall yet. A moment later he seemed to compose himself and said, "Then it is worse than I feared." A finger of fear skittered down my back. What is? Charlie, la una de la bruja is a cursed weapon, a thing wrought of pure evil, and the fact that a sombra like El Sombrero is hunting for it means La Mano Peluda is now poised to begin their slaughter. Their slaughter of who? Charlie, I'm going to speak openly with you. You are in great danger. Through the millennia, that weapon has been exclusively for the single purpose, to kill morphlings. And the finger of fear turned into icy claws clamped around my throat. But Wes, what does any of that have to do with me? I'm not the morphling. Bueno, don't you understand? Simply because we know you are not the morphling doesn't mean La Mano Peluda does. And they believe their hour has come. They are going to kill everyone and anyone who they believe might have been having the slightest chance of being the morphling. See, the morphling represents hope, and they cannot allow hope to spread, hence they cannot allow the morphling to live. So you're saying they're going to kill me just in case? I'm afraid so, and not just you. Any child they believe might be the morphling is now in the greatest peril. The Mano Peluda is absolute evil and will stop at nothing to achieve their ends. They place no value on human life. In fact, they only see the value in destroying it. Magnifico. So basically, I was being haunted for possibly being something that I knew I wasn't. Things just kept getting better and better, didn't they? Wes's horse pawed impatiently at the ground, its massive hooves carved deep, curving ridges on the soft tiles. Some poor, unsuspecting kid was going to take a nasty fall here. Charlie, I have to go, the judge said, but I hope to see you again one day. You're a courageous boy with a wonderful and selfless spirit. I stared at him, grateful for his words, but also feeling utterly helpless. Thanks for that, Liz. I think you're awesome, too. You've always been a hero of mine, but... what am I supposed to do now? My advice is simple, he said softly. Do everything within your power to stay alive. Oh, that's not going to be too hard, is it? Chapter 32. Hope you're ready to get your hands dirty, Violet said as she marched into my bedroom later that afternoon. We have a ton of research to do. She dropped her book bag onto my bed. I brought my laptop, got a bunch of links that, as Cat McCaw might say, might just be pivotal to our current dilemma, my dear. When I didn't say anything, she frowned. What's wrong? Did something happen? Yes, I thought, but shook my head. Don't really want to talk about it. No problem. She took out her laptop and set it on the bed. I'm going to be reading mostly. Nice braid you got there, by the way. Your Pippi Longstocking-esque? I sighed, rubbing my face. Charlie, are you feeling okay? I'm fine, Violet. I mean, there's nothing wrong with me besides, of course, for the fact that I haven't seen my parents in forever. I'm turning into some kind of mutant crustacean freak, and, oh, that's right, the maniac in the ridiculously enormous black hat decided today would be a good day to play bongo drums on my small intestine. You were attacked? Where? At school. He wanted me to find something for him. If I don't, he said he'd kill me. No biggie. Charlie, this was today. Just before first period. Oh, and my best friend now hates my guts. Forgot to mention that one. That's cherry on top. Violet frowned. Why would your best friend hate your guts? Because of you, I thought bitterly. He hates me because of you. Look, I don't want to talk about it. In fact, there's nothing I want to talk about less in the world. Okay, so we don't talk about it. Let's get to work. She took a seat on the edge of my bed, monitoring and motioning for me to do the same. I didn't, but she continued anyway. All right, I'm going to need to know the whole story if we're going to get to the bottom of this. Tell me about the night before your parents disappeared. She brought out a notepad and pen. Did you notice anything out of the ordinary, anything at all? Will this help you finish your story? I mumbled. What? Nothing. I ran a hand roughly through my hair. I don't want to talk right now, okay? A long moment passed before she spoke again. Charlie, it's going to be hard to piece together what happened without your cooperation. You're going to have to let me in. I shrugged. Why are you being like this? She said. What's wrong? What's wrong with you? I snapped. Excuse me? I let out another sigh, and next thing I knew, my frustration boiled over. Why are you even here, Violet, huh? Why don't you just go back to hanging out with the cool kids and doing whatever it is you cool kids do and just leave me alone? Because you sure as heck didn't give a crap about me before you saw that map. Violet looked stunned. Did you seriously just say that? Deny it. Deny the fact that you haven't so much as looked my way in 6 years. How come you never talked to me before? How come you never even said hi? How come you never said hi to me? She shot back. That street runs both ways, Charlie. She stared at me, her chest rising and falling like a restless sea. What's gotten into you? Guess it just took me a while to realize why you're really hanging out with me, that's all. Oh yeah? And why is that, Charlie? Enlighten me, because last time I checked, I was trying to help a friend. Doesn't matter, I mumbled and looked away. Doesn't matter, or you just ran out of dumb things to say. She jammed her notepad into her back pocket and started to put away her things. Sorry I ever tried to help. Yeah, well, I'm sorry I ever let you, and I'm sorry that I pawned my mother's locket to buy you that ugly old bike. Violet flinched. That had hurt her. You're acting like a total jackass, Charlie. I mean, stupid jackass. Tears welled up in her eyes. Big wet drops that I could almost make out my reflection in, but still I couldn't stop myself. And you're plastic as a Mattel doll, I shouted. Violet stepped forward, getting in my face. Don't you dare talk to me like that, she shouted back. Who do you think you are? Then she snatched her bag off the bed. I'm leaving. Good. Good. At the door, she turned back to say, I don't know who you are anymore, Charlie Hernandes. I have no f***ing clue. Yeah, well, welcome to the club. Shouldering her book bag, she turned to leave, but then froze, staring down at her hands. She must have hurt herself somehow, I thought, with a stab of fear. Cut a finger or something? What happened? I breathed. I peered over her shoulder, saw that her fingertips were sparkling with what looked like millions of tiny black diamonds. What is that stuff? Some kind of sparkly dirt? She touched her fingers to the strap of her bag, and when she pulled them away, I could see little designs glittering against the black of the strap. Then I realized they were words. Encontra la una. Destruyalo ante que se muy tarde. It's some kind of message, I said. It says to find the nail to destroy it before it's too late. Violet began touching things. Her skirt, the table, my arm, and everywhere she touched, the same message appeared. Freaky cool, she whispered, looking down at the tips of her fingers. A second later, understanding lit her eyes. Charlie, it's the stuff on your cast. The dirt from the land of the dead. I glanced down, realized she was right. The smudges from Ponce's fingers were sparkling on my cast. The message has to be from the Oracle, Violet said. But what do you think it means? He did mention something about nails. I scratched my head trying to remember. He said that there was a really dangerous one on our... Then it hit me. Oh, the dagger. Huh? It's the weapon El Sombreron is after. La una de la bruja, the nail of the witch. Ponce must want us to find it and destroy it. I thought back to the conversation, and the words just spilled out of my mouth, and it might even save my life. Save your life? Charlie, you're not making any sense. No, listen, it's used to kill morphlings. El Justo Juez told me that, and that's why the Hairy Hand wants it. That's why Ponce thinks destroying it might save my life. But Charlie, newsflash, you're not the morphling. Yeah, we know that, but the Hairy Hand probably doesn't. Violet nodded. She understood. And by getting rid of it, we might not just be saving my life, I began to say. But the morphlings too, Violet finished. Exactly. She thought for a moment, then shrugged. Fine, let's say you're right. About all of it. Let's say destroying the dagger will save everyone, the whole world. How are we supposed to go about finding it in the first place? Because Ponce told me just where to look, I said as it dawned on me. Chapter 33. The yellow crime scene tape was still up when we got to the old house, but the piles of scorched wood and ash that had littered the backyard were gone. As I followed Violet around back, I could only hope that La Una hadn't been accidentally trashed by whatever county cleanup crew had cleared the place out. "Hope you're right," Violet said as we walked through the side gate. The grass hadn't been cut in so long that it brushed our ankles as we walked across it to the center of the yard. "You sure," he said, "that it was here?" "Positive. Hans had told me to go back home, hadn't he? Home sweet home. Where else could he have meant? Where do you want to look first?" "Inside the house, I guess. It was a huge mess, but what choice did we have?" "Well, before we start digging around in there, we should probably check your parents' shed first, no? I mean, that's where I found this." She pulled out the old pirate's key from her pocket. It winked brilliantly in the afternoon sun. "Okay." As we approached the shed, I noticed my dad's bulky padlock was missing. "Someone's been inside," I said. "Watch out." Violet raised one jean-clad leg and gently nudged the corner of the door with her foot. It swung inward easily, but didn't open all the way. Something was blocking it. "I'll go," I said. I squeezed my way through the narrow gap and into the darkness of the shed. "How's it look?" Violet asked. "Not good." The shed was a certified disaster area. All the drawers and cabinets were hanging open. The row of mason jars my dad kept on his workbench had been swept off and dumped onto the floor. Jagged hunks of glass littered the ground. Even the box labeled Christmas stuff had been sliced open, string lights spilling out like electric guts. "Someone's definitely been here," Violet said, joining me inside. "They were after La Una, unless it was a random looting." "Possible, but I didn't think so." It didn't feel random. Whoever did this was after something spit. Suddenly, the big antique key Violet was holding shot out of her hand. It flew straight across the shed and stuck teeth up to a cardboard box labeled Books, etc. Violet's wide eyes found mine. "What the freaky?" I could feel my heart clobbering against my ribs as we went over to the box and knelt beside it. Our eyes met through the dusty bark. I nodded. Violet tore back the flaps of the box to reveal a handful of books. Hard covers and faded spines, and beneath them some sort of metal chest. "A safe?" she guessed. "Probably, only it looked more like a plain old hunk of metal. There were no markings on it, just a big old keyhole on the top." "You don't think—" Except I did. Pulling the key free, I slid it into the lock and turned. I might as well have stuck a fork in a toaster. A jolt of electricity raced through my hand and up my arm, zapping me. "What?" I yanked my hand away, fingertips buzzing, and watched with growing panic as shafts of reddish light spilled out of the safe, glowing fiercely in the dim shed. Instinctively, I had raised my hand to shield my face. Now I lowered them and looked around, wondering if I'd just lost frijoles. Snow had begun to fall inside the shed. Yeah, snow. Tiny flakes that drifted down from the ceiling like slowly falling confetti. Having lived in Miami my entire life, I'd never seen snow, not in person anyway, and never knew what the big deal was. I finally got it. "It's amazing," I murmured. Violet reached up to touch one of the falling flakes, and for a second it rested lightly on her palm before melting away. "Awesome! And there's that, too!" The safe had disappeared, like literally. In its place, peeking out from under a velvet jeweler's cloth, was a jagged hunk of crystal. Dark red and radiating a faint yet dazzling light, it was about as long as a TV remote and shaped sort of like a bear claw, with tendrils of smoke rolling around just beneath its glassy surface. "That's gotta be it," Violet whispered, leaning forward. I picked it up, and the air around me began to crackle. A deep, steady hum. I could feel this thing's power radiating in my hand. It throbbed with energy, throbbed like a beating heart, and I knew, not so much in my head but deep down inside me somewhere, that this was something dark and dangerous, and very, very much alive. "We have to destroy it," I said, looking up at Violet. "Like now. Right now, we have to." From behind us came the buzzing whir of wings. I turned and instantly felt my mouth go dry. A Calejo stood in the doorway, its pale eyes gleaming, his teeny lipless mouth twisted in a mischievous smirk. "Dios mío!" It raised its bony little hands, and twin miniature black funnel clouds snaked out of thin air to touch down in the center of its tiny wrinkled palms. The air inside the shed began to stir. Bits of debris rose around us. Overhead, the steel rafters were vibrating like plucked strings. In about 5 seconds, this entire plane was going to come crashing down on us. Right as I opened my mouth to say, "Now, hold on there, dude," there was a flash of white as something absolutely ginormous leapt through the doorway with a roar, swallowing the Calejo in a single bite. El Calejo? The mighty canine's tail caught the door, slamming it shut as he spun to face us. His glowing blue eyes burned into mine. "More are coming," he said as he slinked past us. He went to the corner of the shed and immediately began to nose about. "Stand back." Pointy shards of wood and hunks of concrete went airborne as he started to dig through the floorboards. His huge padded paws were a blur, and soon streaks of dark earth were spraying over our heads in wide arcs. An instant later, El Calejo disappeared into the freshly dug hole and stayed down there exactly 3 seconds. When he emerged, a clump of grass was dangling from his chest, and his coat was so dirty that he could have passed for a black bear. "You two escape through the tunnel," he signaled with his furry muzzle. "Get somewhere safe and do what you know to do. I'll keep the Acalicas busy." "Thank you," I said, and reached up and put my hand against the side of his face. His fur was unnaturally soft, almost airy somehow. I couldn't believe I was actually touching him. I couldn't believe I was standing face to face with this legend among legends. He nuzzled me affectionately, his blue eyes glowing even brighter. Then he signaled once again with his head. "Del, go. You don't have much time." Or is it Dale? Probably Dale. Sorry if I'm ignorant with my Spanish. I'm trying as hard as I can. Chapter 34. But yeah, Dale makes more sense than Dale. The tunnel El Calejo had dug was dark and a little narrow, but we both managed to crawl our way through pretty easily. We came out along the edge of my neighbor's yard, then quickly hurried back around the front of my house, where we jumped on our bikes and hauled butt back to Mrs. Wilson's. There we spent the next 20 minutes trying to figure out a way to destroy La Una. We tried stabbing it, smashing it with a hammer, dropping it onto the driveway from the bedroom window. Even tried melting it in a pot of boiling water. Nothing worked. In fact, the more things we did to it, the stronger the crystal or whatever that thing was made of seemed to get. When we finally got around to trying one of Mrs. Wilson's extra sharp butcher knives to it, La Una's edge reduced the knife's blade to metal shavings after just 2 slices. The thing was incredible. "It's indestructible," I said, tossing the ruined knife onto the countertop. "It's literally impossible to destroy." Violet paced the kitchen. "There has to be a way. We're just missing something." Suddenly she rolled to face me. "I know what we need." "A nuclear warhead?" "No. Cookies." "Cookies?" "Yeah, you know, chocolate chip, almond." "I know what cookies are, Violet, but what's your plan? To give it sugar diabetes?" "Funny, but no. What I mean is, I need a cookie. I think better on a sugar high." She peeked into the pantry. "Plus, nothing beats a soft and chewy double chocolate chip." "I don't think we have any, though. Mrs. Wilson is more of a waffles and tea kind of gal." "That's okay. I like them better from scratch anyway." "You bake?" Was there anything this girl didn't know how to do? She was grinning when she glanced back at me. "Oh, do I ever." 10 minutes later, Violet bent to look through the oven window, then stood up frowning. "The cookies aren't rising properly," she said. "Something's wrong." "Maybe we found the one thing you don't know how to do," I teased. She studied the bag of all-purpose flour she'd found in the pantry. "Doesn't seem like it's expired." "It's not. Mrs. Wilson just used it. I saw her put some in her lobster bisque like 2 days ago." "Really? Must be a weird recipe. I don't think you put flour in lobster bisque." Violet sprinkled a little on her fingertip and touched it to her tongue. "Funny. It has the same consistency as flour, but it tastes like lemons." She frowned. "Does Mrs. Wilson mix something into this? Because the smell is a bit of—" Her gaze wavered, her lips twitched. She staggered back from the counter, making a low, choking sound in her throat, and then suddenly collapsed. "Violet?" I scrambled to her side, knocking over one of the kitchen stools. "Violet, can you hear me?" I pulled her into a sitting position, and then I almost passed out when I saw that her lips had begun to turn blue. She must be having some sort of allergic reaction, I thought as a flood of terror rushed through me. Violet, talk to me. She can't, a voice said. I looked up and saw Mrs. Wilson standing in the doorway of the kitchen. Mrs. Wilson, thank God I don't know what happened to her, but she doesn't seem to be breathing. That's because she's not. The flower she ingested was infused with a rare herb not found in this world. The cells of her body are currently gliding gently toward a state of suspended animation, but she'll be fine. What? Just call 911. I'm afraid there's nothing they can do for her. There are a few ways of extracting a cursed compound from the human body, and you won't find the necessary tools in this world. Guess she shouldn't have gone nosing around in my pantry. But Mrs. Wilson, oh, stop calling me by that wretched name, she hissed. Human names are so dull, so boring. Her lips curved into a wicked grin. Call me La Cuca. Chapter 35. Before I could say anything, her form began to change. Her legs grew out several inches, her hunched-over back straightened, the flabby skin of her face and neck smoothed like a skin cream commercial on time-lapse. The wrinkles vanished from around her eyes, from under her chin. Her once frail-looking shoulders doubled in size. Newfound strength seemed to surge into her arms and legs, and the muscles there turned all hard and veiny. Her hair color also changed, becoming a rich dark blonde as it grew out of her head, almost down to her waist, and she let out a peal of evil laughter that reverberated through the kitchen as if being blared from a giant amplifier. Oh, to be free of that pitiful form, she shouted, lifting her hands triumphantly. Green light blazed from her eyes, like twin beacons. Parfum! I was almost too stunned to speak, feeling like I was in a dream. I said, You're her. The lady Sehonaba had wanted to get revenge on, the one that El Sombreron was trying to find La Una for. You're that crazy old hag from the legends. I mean, that wasn't entirely accurate. Sure, in a couple myths, she was to have transformed herself into a harmless-looking elderly lady to trick her victims, but in reality she was most widely known and widely feared witch in all of Hispanic mythology. Legends of her snatching misbehaving children right out of their beds, of luring them away from their homes and treats and rhymes, many times even eating the kids, were known from Portugal to Sao Paulo. In some of the stories, she was a huge-headed ghoul with fiery eyes. In others, she was an alligator-faced woman who specialized in brewing mystical potions. In one medieval myth, she'd even been described as a fire-breathing dragon. And as I stood there almost close enough to reach out and touch her, I realized something else. Something that made all the little hairs on my back of my neck prickle with fear. She'd never been just some old made-up character from a myth, some make-believe boogie woman that parents used to scare little children into behaving. No, she was real as I was, as real as my abuela had made her seem in stories. And worse, I was staring right into the burning eyes of the very source of all those terrifying tales, into the eyes of the most terrible witch in history. For a moment I was so frightened I hardly even knew what to say. Then, shaking my head, I finally managed. What do you want? I mean, what are you doing here? Me? La Cuca said innocently. Ay, nada. I'm just here to cut out your heart and steal your powers. Cut out my heart and steal my powers? Sorry to disappoint you, lady, but I don't have any powers for you to steal. I'm an equivocado. I'm sure you're familiar with the term. La Cuca sighed. Aye, and you're as dull as my royal Paynin the Nagla sister, aren't you, Bequeno? Wait, sister? And suddenly I saw it, the same long, slender physique, the same glowing green eyes, even the same haughty, and just a wee bit better than you tone of voice. Oh my gosh, you're Queen Jonah's sister? I shouted. The black sheep she mentioned? La Cuca split into an evil grin. And you, Niño, are the fifth born from the beginning of time, the last of your kind, a morphling. Oh, that's awesome, I said. Hey, anything was better than being un equivocado. You do also realize it's the reason I've embedded myself into your little life and am now going to kill you, see? Not so awesome then, but wait. The Oracle specifically told me that I wasn't the Morphling. He seemed pretty positive, too. Of course that's what you were told, because that's precisely how I made it appear. What are you talking about? I said. Her grin widened, turning maniacal. You see, my sister and her band of idiots believe only in the strictest interpretation of prophecy. They're closed-minded bearers, and if you haven't realized it by now, all I had to do was concoct a potion to make you manifest something other than what was prophesied in the Picto prophecy regarding the Morphling, and they would have no clue what to make of you. Which is exactly what I did. No small feat, mind you. When I didn't say anything, she rolled her glazing eyes and shot me an annoyed look that bordered on a snarl. Oh, don't look so empty-headed. Don't you get it? The poison your little friend accidentally ingested is the potion I crafted for you. I slipped a few teaspoons into that lobster bisque you loved so much and allowed your body's natural defense mechanisms to take care of the rest, to develop a perfectly genuine seeming manifestation. Ingenious, no? Aw, dang, that was pretty slick. Damn that delicious bisque! I gritted my teeth in frustration. How was this possible? How could I have spent all this time living with her and never once have had the slightest inkling that something was up? That something just wasn't right about good old Mrs. Wilson. All the signs had been right there. Her freaky doll collection, her obsession with keeping an eye on me, the pair of witchy cauldrons I'd found under the sink, even the boxes and boxes of little kids' toys that she was always trying to get rid of at the local flea market. The toys of kids she probably only recently kidnapped. How could I have been so blind? La Cuca tipped her head back in a throaty laughter. Oh, you are funny. I have to admit that, and because you've never failed to entertain me, I'll be sure to tell your parents that you died bravely. That is before I kill you, and them, and everyone else you love. My parents, she knew where they were. I felt my hand tighten on the fist at my side. What have you done with them? I growled. What have I done with them? She echoed mockingly. Whatever do you mean? They've been right here with you the entire time, under the same roof even. She gestured to a pair of dolls sitting on the half-shelf over the sink, and the sudden realization made my stomach twist. She turned my mom and dad into dolls. It seemed ridiculous, I know, but there was no denying it. The resemblance to my parents was unmistakable, even down to the tiny freckles on my dad's nose and the way my mom twisted her hair into a knot above her shoulder. I kept them alive for leverage sake, in case you needed a little extra motivation, but their usefulness seems to have run its course. Undo whatever you did to them, I shouted. Ahora mismo! Undo it right now! Ah, so demanding, so American. She opened her mouth wide and a column of purple fire erupted from between her teeth, sizzling through the air. It struck me in the center of my chest, lifting me off my feet and slamming me into the wall. My head cracked against the door frame, and I crumpled to the floor with a muffled moan as picture frames rained down on me. Hope that wasn't too hot, La Cuca said. She stalked forward, her strides long and easy, wisps of black smoke curling up from the corners of her smiling lips. I held back as much as I could, but perhaps my eagerness got the best of me. I'd been looking forward to this for quite a while now, decades even. I groaned and rubbed my aching chest, which burned like I'd gotten tagged by a flaming boulder. The front of my shirt was in tatters, singed all the way through. The skin underneath, however, wasn't too bad. Definitely a little redder than usual, but not much worse than a sunburn. What are you talking about? I choked out. She gave me a funny look. You honestly never wondered why your abuela taught you all those tales? Why she insisted that you memorize all those old and forgotten myths? My abuela. How did La Cuca know about her? You thought it was all just to entertain you, merely to teach you a life lesson or two. La Cuca's gaze sharpened on my face. Allow me to tell you a little story about your beloved abuela. See, your grandmother, much like you, was a bit of a nuisance in her younger years. One day during one of her many trips to South America, she happened upon a village that was under attack by a legendary bruja. Your grandmother, ever the meddler, decided to team up with a local Chakwi in order to kill that wise and oh so beautiful witch. She paused. Can you believe it? Your sweet little abuelita, a cold-blooded killer. In any event, your beloved granny happened to fall in love with that foul creature, and she soon bore a child. Your mother. Now, unbeknownst to your abuela, the witch she had killed was particularly difficult to keep dead for reasons we won't get into right now, but suffice it to say, when she returned to La Tierra de los Muertos and learned of all that had transpired since her most tragic death, she was beyond furious. However, once her anger subsided, she realized that your grandmother had actually done her a wonderful favor, because now instead of having to travel the world killing Chilachaquis to prevent the birth of the fifth morphling, she could simply talk a single family, wait for the morphling to be born, and then kill it. So that's what she did, eliminating your abuela only once she was able to confirm that the morphling had indeed been born into her familia. I'm gonna have to stop there because we don't have time to really go any further. I'm trying to figure out how to save this spot, so I think I figured it out. I think I got it. And I forgot again to let you guys know what the other quote for the quote for the third hour is, and that is, some folks who say they aim to please need some target practice. Wow. That's a pretty good one. And we'll have 3 more tomorrow. Tomorrow should be good. There's so many things that I want to show you on TikTok that are crazy. The state of our world today, I'm telling you, there is not a dull moment. Not a dull moment to be had. And that's for sure. So I was going to say, before we get to the outro, that if you guys want to send me anything, whether it's something you'd like me to see or have, or a letter, or perhaps your own ghost story or paranormal story, you can send it to P.O. Box 663, Bayfield, Bayfield, Colorado 81122. Yeah, and also, let me know in Gmail at weareparadoxmedia@gmail.com what guests you'd like me to have on, what books you would like me to read, etc. We're almost done with this one. We just have a very small section, and then, I don't know. I was thinking about another Stephen King book that came from my deceased stepmother, and it's Stephen King's Cell Phone. And I've had it for years. I just never got into it. But I think that could be a really good one. What do you guys think? Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Hang out with me during story time, music break, whatever. Just being here, period, is pretty awesome. Thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and wherever you may be listening Beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow night, as we will be getting into some trippy TikToks and some really mind-blowing stuff, I might say. Don't forget, fam, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world a bit better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there really is no us. And that reminds me, if you guys haven't seen that movie, I think it's 2073 or something like that, I recommend watching it. It's pretty mind-blowing itself. And until next time, nighty night, love and light. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I will see you back here tomorrow night. Same crazy time, same crazy place. Mwah.